Hello, my dear friend. With you, Rich Manga Recap. I am very passionate about manga and made this review for you. I am sure you will be satisfied. If you have already watched the first or second part, use the time codes under the video. Don't waste time. Let's go. The company Heavenly Warriors is the biggest association of martial arts in this world. Possessing serious authority in the field of wushu, it attracts the close attention of most people. The company of Heavenly Warriors hides a lot of extraordinary martial arts and no one unknown techniques. However, despite the whole mystery of this center of martial arts, for ordinary people, it is just the opportunity to earn on their own. Nowadays, quite difficult for the possibility of working in this area. This huge stone palace for fist battles is really the best place for professional activities. They don't ask here where you come from. If only there were abilities, and then there will be a place for you. Here, if you can't become a professional boxer, then you can become sparring, a partner. As you already understood, our main character is sparring a partner in this fighting club, and now he just works with the champion. The main character, despite his fatigue, is already slightly exhausted, but still continues to maintain his concentration and fully fulfills his title. The champion with whom the main character works today is trying to break through his defense, but has legally worked out his attacks. Although this sparring is a partner and not like everyone else, it is pleasant to work with him, the champion thought. Having gathered with the champions on his own, he still produces a series of shocks with his hands, remains on top. His friends who are watching training understand that the champion is very pounding him. Hey Chen, hold on, 20 seconds remain before the end of the round. Contact Lee holds on with all his might, since he is a sparring partner not just amateurs but with professionals. No wonder that it was Chen. Put me in his place. I would have been lying a long time ago, his comrade who watched the fight said. If Chen were like you, it would definitely not be sparring a champion partner. And you can't say that he has a level D. I know that Chen, and in conjunction with a level of level C, may well survive another athlete added. The insidious coach long ago watched the progress of this guy. He was like a bone in his throat. He developed a plan to get rid of him as soon as possible. The champion inflicted a series of strong blows. He threshed him like a fan with his fists. But Chen continued to hold a blow. For a moment, the bell's blow rang. The battle duel is over. Partners can disperse in their corners. Hey, it's a pity time has passed. Something the last few blows did not work very much, the champion said. The last few beats were too hasty. Because of this, there may be adverse consequences. You should pay attention to this. He added Chen. So that's the matter. Finally, I understood where the mistake is. It is not for nothing that this guy is a sparring partner at the champion. The guys moved to the locker room and trying to restore the grated fists and fingers, which noticed that that champion was beating very much. And in boxing without injuries, there is no one to blame here. Unless only yourself. What is inattentive? Chen said. Brother, tell me where you are the adhesive plaster. I'll go. Look in the locker number 12. I remember injured last month I left one there. Yeah, as if there is a patch. You have a good memory. If you had not abandoned your studies, you would have received 100% in the university. But it would not be necessary to work for an uncle with a sparring partner. He looked in surprise. Su Chen was clearly concerned about something. And what did I say wrong again? It is a pity that health does not allow me, otherwise it would also become a boxer. And if a boxer, then the team captain is not so long to become so long that in general it also allows you to raise money well. By the way, not a bit shines for me by the captain, Su Chen answered. The vile coach was behind the door all this time and tried to eavesdrop on something. If you were for a long time, I would have become a captain for a long time. This is certainly not a fat man of Van, who turns out everything through the ass. The comrade carefully helped to stick a patch. They remembered the fat man Wang and the fact that he was injured. All protective equipment for sparring partner would be available if not for the injury of this fat man. I think he will not be a captain for long, the guys continued to discuss. I heard all this from the corridor. When the training on the street ended a long time ago later. The street lit up with colorful lights, life continued to boil. After training as usual, he went to the pharmacy, he granted the medicines again, the seller asked. I wish your sister to be cured quickly, the seller answered politely. Thank you very much for the kind words, Chen added. Late in the evening returned home. The younger sister was waiting for him at home. She immediately heard as soon as the door opened. The sister was alone at home all day and really missed him. She was delighted with his return and immediately jumped into his arms. What are you? She said you can't jump. I am very bored at home alone. Yeah, you brought products. Brother, rest. Today I will cook dinner, she added. He squeezed the door with his small room with a creak, and barely moving his legs went. Exhausted during training, there was no strength left to change clothes. He went into his room on the autopilot and collapsed exhausted onto the bed. And only falling slaps broke the silence. For a moment, the quiet sniffing of his strong sleep was already diverging around the room. It is already incomprehensible here. He fell asleep after he personally managed to pill, or he was sleeping when he went into the room. If you plunge a little into the past, then a lot will become clear. A young girl was returning a cold winter day. Her child was still very small. She carried him in her arms. But how was her surprise when she heard next to the wolf of another child? How harshly take and throw a child here in the middle of the street. It did not look like someone accidentally left him. Despite the fact that she already has her own child, she decided to help him without hesitation. She took this child and went home. Surprised neighbors could not understand where they came from a second child. Look, is it not that bad girl from home opposite? Where did she get another child? Have you seen how my father drove her out of the house? Who knows where she got this child? The neighbors continued to discuss. Oh, this lecher who flew before the wedding. Probably again a man somewhere picked up. The neighbors continued to grumble. I don't care what people say, a young girl thought. I will grow you and put you on my feet. I will make you a worthy person, she added. My joy has returned from school. Little Chen tried to catch up with his sister Ling. She joyfully carried his examination sheet. Baby, you have poor health, but you don't have to run as much as Skull did, my mother noticed with care. Mom, look at the brother's examination sheet. He scored the maximum number of points, the sister said joyfully. A little embarrassed by this, Chen grabbed his sheet. Lin, it was not necessary to show him. He was indignant. In general, you need to talk about this on every corner. And I never could score a maximum of points. She was indignant. Oh, who would say? You don't want to take an example from your brother at all, Mom politely added. The kids who study so well in the future will definitely become an outstanding person, and no one will look down on him, my mother proudly said. I will try, the baby answered with joy. And then he opened his eyes. What was it? Was it a dream or memories, he thought. Lying in his bed, he still realized that it was a dream. It only became sad from this. The kitchen came with delicious aromas and the sound of cooking. Brother, have you already woken up? Ling asked. Wait a little, okay? The food is almost ready. He smelled a delicious aroma and immediately stood up, Chen answered. Chen slowly picked up pieces of food and enjoyed her taste. Well, how? What do you think? Are you very tasty? She was interested. It is incredibly tasty. Your dishes are very similar to our mother's dish. Although I do not know the reason, sometimes someone's voice is heard in my head. And it is thanks to his help that I have such good success in my studies, Chen shared. Honestly, only in order to ensure that my mother is not worried, I hide something from her. With sadness in his eyes, Chen thought. With the help of this voice, the devil knows him. Maybe I really can pass entrance exams to good university, and I can pull our family out of poverty. But first it would be necessary to find a way to cure Link. So politely he called his sister. Going to the gym, his main idea was about making as much money as possible to cure his sister. And this thought did not give him peace and forced him to move on. He said goodbye to his sister and went again about his business. A little more and he was already in the gym. The guys and his friends discussed success in training. Great brother Chen. Hello everyone, Chen calmly answered. He has already seen many guys hundreds of times. Some of them only appeared. While Chen opened his box in the storage chamber, his acquaintance approached him. You here, Chen, today you are careful. Some are not glad to see you here. Your nickname Golden Pear played a cruel joke with you. Be careful with this coach whose name is Van Tienwei, his comrade added. For a moment, I heard someone's steps that were approaching him. You are our main force in the second group. The partner of the gold medalist is the Golden Pear. Brand, here we need to help. Those who themselves choose boxers are afraid that they are injured. But you have a champion's partner. I hope you are not afraid to get hurt, the vile coach asked. If so, go to the fourth ring. Come on soon. What? On the damn fourth ring? Su Chen asked in surprise. In the fourth ring at that moment, a mad dog trained. This is a champion that was known for his bad fame. Did he cripple Zhang Xiaowell last month? Why was he brought to the ring again? Yes, and he is a boxer of the weight category C, and he is put on category D sparring partner. What kind of affairs? Chen asked. They specifically searched for you. Other sparring partners do not suit them. I had no other choice but to agree. The coach answered meanly. Hey there, when will we start sparring? Do you want my brother to die of boredom? Another champion asked. Iron Wolf, be calm. This little girl was not just dubbed Golden Pear. From every dozen boxers that ate, 9 trained with him greatly increased their indicators. Really, bro, it will be useful for you to work with him in pairs, added a vile coach. Go. In the middle of the month, I will help you with receiving a bonus. I will try to agree to be increased at least twice, the coach promised. Well, we strictly fulfill the rules of training combat. It is not allowed to attack the torso and throat. The tired sparring partner may demand to stop the battle. Chen said calmly. Yes, of course. There, here, so many people are looking. Everything will be fine, added the coach. Su Chen prepared his defense. He checked it every time before training. I corrected it again, and I thought that it was time to start. We had to withstand only 30 minutes. Are you the same champion pair? They say that the level is very good. Few people manage to make you look for the fifth corner. It was very interested in it, added a frantic dog. This rogue was clearly not looking for sparring partners for fun, but in order to assert himself at the expense of the famous golden pair. Certainly not just to increase your boxing skill. There was a gong and sparring began. Instantly a strong blow from a frantic dog. Is this the level of category C? From the first blow, a hand was numb. The training went into real sparring. Chen had to very deftly dodge a series of quick strokes. As soon as he dodged a series of hit with his hand, he immediately followed a prohibited blow with his foot directly into the body. What was it? From a strong blow, he barely kept himself on his feet. Is he serious? Did he go crazy? Chen thought. Category C boxer compared to Category D boxer is not 1.5 stars difference. Half an hour and so, in full force, 300 kilograms blows, and you are provided with internal hemorrhage. Champion sparring partner, you say? Do you also want to take my place? Sparring partner has no right to beat in response, family added a coach. I'll see how you get out of here alive, after such an intense training. Stop! Cried Su Chen. He was completely exhausted and tried to restore his breath. Su Chen shouted, Stop, Captain! He shouted, Stop! The guys who followed the fight were repeated. What can there be stop? We have just started. Suji, we have a golden pair. Are there any boxers whom he cannot withstand? Isn't it visible? My brother only knocked more hard, that's all. Nothing, let him rest a little, and okay. If you can't endure the blows, what kind of sparring partner? You added an iron wolf with a grin. The tournament continued with renewed vigor. The furious dog attacked very sharply and aggressively. I continue to apply strong blows. Let me remind you, the feature of the sparring partner is that he cannot strike in response. He can only dodge the blows. Damn, the difference in strength is too great. With every blow, Su Chen felt this. Ha ha, only one stretch. And this little one will be no, the coach joyfully remarked. Let me remind you, the stretch is a direct blow from which it is quite difficult to close. Very dangerous. This can be withstanded only by skill, honed with daily training. More recently, the frantic dog ring. He graduated from the battle with his defeat. Not only did I fail in the ring, and if today I can't put this bitch yet, with all the anger, a mad dog thought, thanks to his skill, which continued to hold the blows, and a constant attack in this sparring. But still, he missed some blows. They came like a lightning blow. There was nothing to do very vilely. He attacked him with a strong blow of his leg. As a result of this heavy blow, Chen flew into the corner of the ring. Blood sprinkled from his mouth, which said with weight that he violated the rules. The frantic dog craves only a place. He had to recoup on this boy for his defeat. Die! A frantic dog said through his teeth. Lightning attacks flew one after another. Since the frantic dog is a completely different weight category, I had much more experience. But Chen was rather agile and deftly dodged his attacks. Combination? If I miss at least one blow, I will end, Chen thought. The frantic dog felt his superiority in this battle. He continued to attack his sparring partner of a series of strong blows. I do not believe that this time I won't get you. He quickly thought a frantic dog. Chen moved very quickly, and strong blows continued to cling to him in different places. He felt that his eyes were clouding, and he saw how the enemy's silhouette moves on him. I did not think that I was doomed to death today. Your life is in danger. Presumably in 0.5 seconds your skull will be broken. What is this voice? Chen thought in surprise. This instant, a series of very strong blows followed. If I miss at least one blow, then I will definitely die, Chen thought with fear. Survive, survive, survive! Only this thought was spinning in his head. Counter cross, 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 counter blow through the opponent's hand. I don't want to die yet, Chen firmly decided. At that moment, Chen struck a response directly into the throat of a frantic dog. As expected, from such a blow, a frantic dog immediately fell into the ring. What did you study? Too fast, I did not see. They became interested in the viewer. Chen barely stood on his feet. He staggering and hardly rearranging his legs, he reached the ropes and grabbed them so as not to fall. Chen! Chen, are you okay? His comrade jumped out into the ring and grabbed him so that he would not fall. Well, and a convenient case to punish him, the vile coach said. Su Chen, did you allow yourself to attack a boxer? This is a violation. I must annul your license of sparring partner, the coach said. Fatty Van, what are you blind? The same frantic dog applied the forbidden technique, a little more, and Chen not to live. How was it not to give a oncoming blow? Chen began to come to life a little. What happened? Did I kill a man? He asked. It is not clear what happened to a frantic dog. Chen is seriously injured, and if the Iron Wolf decides to take revenge, then he is the end. The guys looked at each other and accurately decided that it was necessary to inform the highest leadership of the club as soon as possible. Chen, you are resting for now, and we will call the doctor. And you need to call someone from the leadership of the club as soon as possible. If the sparring partner hit the boxer, this is a serious matter. Chen must be saved. The more we will give the public the case, the better. The Iron Wolf broke into the ring and could not believe that his brother was lying without movement. Su Chen, what have you done? The Iron Wolf screamed violently. You failed my brother and want to escape? You will pay your life for it, the Iron Wolf continued to scream. Hey, for a long time I wanted to compete with the boxer of the Yu Yurin. Do you want to touch Chen? First you can handle me, and then we'll see. At that moment, the club leadership went down to the hall with a doctor. The leader of the club was not himself accompanied by the guards. What happened here? The leader of the club asked. Together with him was his assistant. She was a doctor in this club. As soon as the club management went into the hall, they immediately asked what happened here. Director Paul, Su Chen violated the rules. He hit a boxer. But that he, being a sparring partner, allowed himself to raise his hand to the boxer. He must be strictly punished, so that there would be no longer even more so. The fat man, Van said. The frantic dog hid the weapon, wanted to kill me. I only applied the necessary defense. Chen added his excuse. You look, Chen has both hands beaten to blood. Is it a box? There was a real meat grinder. If the frantic dog in the competition comes out, then this is honestly the loss of the face of our club, added one of the friends who watched the fight. Check bodily harm and be sure to extract video from surveillance cameras, the club director said. Allow me to look at the boxer, the girl added. Despite her fragile physique and beautiful outlines, she was a doctor of high qualifications. I hope sterile gloves. She began the inspection very carefully, so as not to miss a single details, as this may affect the reputation of the entire club. I remember her. This is the beauty Shen Yu, the doctor of our martial arts palace. I hope she will not inspect any strange places, Chen thought. She examined the respiratory tract and immediately noticed that the blow to the throat was inflicted on the edge of the palm. If he could not send him to intensive care, he could die. Rather, call an ambulance, she said strictly. The guys loaded on a boxer on a stretcher and carefully carried it to the exit to quickly send him to intensive care. Chen began to slowly recall how he made this only blow that instantly stopped the fury of a frantic dog. Being in the dispatching Chan, I carefully examined the video from the surveillance cameras and saw how it happened. All clear. The boxer violated the rules by hiding the weapon and went to the ring and knocked down a man. During the defense, the sparring partner drove the boxer into shock, which in the worst case leads to death, better to paralysis. However, the frantic dog fell into rabies during the battle. Used prohibited substances? The doctor asked. This is definitely a fat man, Van. It was he who set up the battle, and the forbidden drug, of course. He also slipped, added one of Chen's friends. Do not slander. Could I create this? The coach tried to justify himself. What the hell is Chen, the sparring partner of the level, put on battle with the boxer of category C? Added a friend. And in his words, it makes sense. Another guy who watched the fight quickly noticed. But the fat man Van himself said that it would be just a training. Really? These are blood pills, ADH1? This prohibited substance is a potent doping. The fat man gave you a frantic dog this medicine. We completely crazy with their connections. All this was set up by the captain. It's not me. I did not do it. This is slander. The doctor watched how the fat man Van tried to take off his responsibility. If the frantic dog took the forbidden drug, then I think Su Chen would now lay. Dr. Shen Yu. The fat man of Van, along with the Iron Wolf, suspected that they could be accused of violating the rules. Thank you very much, Captain Van, for a good deed in saving my life, Chen answered sarcastically. Coach Van, to appoint you the captain of the team of sparring partner was definitely a mistake, the club director said. The frantic dog was the first to violate the rules. Su Chen came beyond the framework of preserving his life. According to the rules of our martial arts palace, heavenly warriors, fists and legs have no eyes if you went to the ring that at any moment you can lose your life, added by the director. And who is afraid of death is not a place in the palace of martial arts, heavenly warriors, the director answered sternly. But there is another point. Boxers are the property of the club, Shang Wai confidently answered. You, a partner for training, paralyzed the boxer with your blow, and should be responsible for this, the director said. It begins from today. It is you who will replace a frantic dog in the ring, the director answered sternly. True, right. My brother agreed with the club for 15 competitions, and you will replace it. Everything is right, an Iron Wolf added with an evil smile. This cannot be done. Chen is just a sparring partner, and Category D to him is not affordable. And sending level C to competitions is not the same as sending him to certain death? His friends were indignant. Why not? He flooded my brother, which means that the level of C is quite suitable for battles. He added an Iron Wolf. Since I have to fight, then I will fight instead, the friend of Chen shouted. The club director. He listened carefully and thought. Will you fight for him? Well, this is also an option. But the man he injured, he must be responsible. Strictly added by the director of the club. Therefore, you can only perform in 10 competitions. The remaining 5 will have to fight himself. It seems to me that it will be more fair. Added by the director. How to heal the wounds. Immediately come to sign a contract. The club turned to Chen. Chen accompanied the outgoing director of the club. He understood that something was not smooth here, but the choice was already made. He only noticed that one single word was written on the t-shirt of the club director. Death. The corridors of the sports club became completely empty. A friend supported Chen and helped him get to the first aid post. Chen was completely defeated and was exhausted. He was very fraught with this sparring. He thanked his friend for his support. Chernish, you should not have intervened in our conversation. I traumed the person, which means that I should be responsible, Chen said. Chen, you don't worry about me. Think about 10 competitions more, I can stand it, reassured his black. Yes, and you never know what can happen to you. Who will take care of your sister Linka? Added Chernish. Says the truth. Forgive me for drawing you into this trouble. Hey, who are we to each other? If not for you, it was unlikely that now I would have such a technique. After a short time, the guys still reached the first aid post. Chen went into the office and immediately noticed the beauty Shen Yu. Did you finally come? The doctor asked. She sat in her chair. The robe was unfastened, and one could see a beautiful young body, long legs and beautiful chest, which was under a white t-shirt. Sit down where you want. She answered strictly. I took out a box with medicines, and the examination of the wounds and damage to Chen began. Have you specially helped me? Why? Chen asked when the doctor made him a dressing of RAS. Probably because I'm kind. I could not resist looking like you. An idiot. Deceived. Not only did he get into it, and even pulled a friend, so she helped a little. Shang Yu. What do you mean? How did I deceive me? Chen asked. Continuing to apply elastic bandages to beaten into fists, the doctor tried to explain what mistake Chen made. The main thing is that the frantic dog had the intent to kill, and on your part, there was a forced defense. According to the rules of the club, Heavenly Warriors, you just need to pay money and just business. The main guilt was to be accepted by Coach Van, answered Shen Yu. Suppose I have no money? What then? Chen asked. Such cases must be completely solved through the trial, and you two have a lot of hurry. Do you really think that you can withstand 5 competitions? In surprise, Dr. Shen Yu. Damn, after that last blow in the brain, everything mixed up, of course. I did not think about it. You want to say that I took black in these unfair competitions? Chen asked. Sneaky Paul has long been watching him, said Shen Yu. Chen slowly began to clarify the situation. Well, business. Therefore, from the very beginning he looked for the skill of Chernish. And I used me only as an excuse to tie with a promise? No wonder the floor at first looked at the fight of the Iron Wolf and Chernish so carefully. Look, you are not a fool if you could figure it out so quickly. Surprised Shen Yu. In any case, a frantic dog is a person of sex, and the fact that he wanted to deal with you is also true. If these days you have no progress, I'm afraid you will not even leave the 3rd competition, making it right in the ring. What, in the end, this doctor has an intention, Chen thought, since she helps him so. Looking at the watch, the doctor said that the end of the shift was to go home. She said goodbye to him and told him to be careful. In parting, she quietly handed him a note so that he could read it after they leave. Is this a note? But when Dr. Shen gave it to me, I did not even notice. He turned the note. He saw what was written in it. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, 18th floor, the gallery Clear Moon. He took a contract with him and went to the meeting at which the doctor invited him. Even walking along the street, he continued to study each clause of this contract. I can add for myself that the Palace of Martial Arts of Heavenly Warriors is written on the sheet. An agreement on participation in competitions. But you will have to participate in competitions, putting on my life. Chen thought along the way towards However, he was able to earn something. He checked his wallet and remembered something about something. It was necessary to buy medicines for his sister. He decided to go to the pharmacy on the way back. Passing by the nondescript streets, he heard a scream for help. "To the aid! Save! Help!" the female voice shouted. "Let me go! Save!" the girl screamed in tears. One of the hooligans tried to close her mouth to muffle her screams. Two hooligans attacked a defenseless girl and tried to rob her or do something else worse. But she was not at a loss, and the villain bit her finger. To somehow free your mouth. For this, the second robber immediately hit her in the face. "Well, come on in a good way, and then we will post your naked pictures on the internet." Threatening the robber spoke with a knife. "Ha ha ha! You can even yell at least the whole voice. No one will save you." "Take your dirty hands from her." What ran to the girl's cries and decided to help her. Chen went into the gateway, saw two robbers. One of them continued to hold the girls, and the second threatening with a knife headed for him. "Do not go into your business." "Well, wretched, I'm afraid that there is nothing to take from you," one robber said. The second robber began to break the dress right on the girl in the middle of the street. "What are you doing? Completely broke?" Chen shouted and rushed to save the girl. "Then let's talk differently. If you do not understand the words, we will use other communication methods." One robber flew away from the blow with his foot and fell on his back, and now he shouted in pain and called for help. You have a moment there, then the second robber grabbed the knife and was about to attack him. "Oh, you jerk, I'll finish you now!" the robber shouted, waving his knife. Chen's reaction was excellent. He easily dodged the attack and blocked his hand with a knife. Another moment and he raised. The second robber also fell to the ground, and only dust began to rise into the air. "Oh, my rib, and it seems not one. You arranged a fight and inflicted me you've. Drive compensation." Through the pain began to demand a robber. The girl, "Next time go along the big streets where there are a lot of people," Chen said. "These little lanes are unsafe. Here it is full of tramps and robbers." Chen raised his jacket and handed it to the girl so that she could cover her torn dress. In gratitude, she rushed into his arms. "Thanks a lot. If not for you, then I don't even know that they would do with me," she added. "Miss, you are too close," Chen answered modestly, feeling the girl pressed against him. "Danger!" At that moment, his inner voice informed him of an approaching danger. What looked at the girl in surprise, and saw how she grabbed a knife from a holster attached on her leg. "Are they all one gang?" Chen thought. So for a moment she waved a knife to strike him. What was instantly grouped, and pushed the girl with his elbow. The impudent girl clearly did not expect this. If for a member it was a light push, then for the girl it was a strong blow, and she flew back. Because of such a push, she dropped a knife that fell on a stone sidewalk with a ringing. Devil! How did he calculate us? He hits very much. Rather run from here. The robbers screamed and scattered in different directions. "Hey you, wait for me!" The girl tried to hide as quickly as possible. Their insidious plan failed. Again, this voice saved me. I don't understand what kind of voice it is. He tried to figure it out, Chen. On the street, it was already completely dark and the city lit up with nightlights. Chen went to the pharmacy. "Hi, Sue. The medicine for a sister has come again?" the seller asked. "Today I earned more money now. I would like to buy your medicine more expensive. I hope it will definitely help. How about this 20-year-old ginseng root? If good, then I will give you at the cheapest price. Ginseng is a very good remedy, but it is not very profitable for me to sell it to me. As if I don't know the situation at your place? Take it. I would really like to see your sister, healthy and fun," the seller insisted. "You still buy a couple of kilograms of ribs to make the broth. It will definitely help." "Do not let her strain," the seller added. "Fine. Thank you very much. Thanks to your medicines, my sister will run soon," Jean thanked. Returning home, Chen passed through a small square. "Where did you hide? Are you here?" "No need to squeak like a mouse. You are a cat," Chen answered politely. He remembered about her, so he periodically brought her to eat. She looked at him with big, beautiful eyes. "And you eat a lot. What are you not growing? You have been living in this park for 2 months. Since there really is nowhere to go, let's take you at least to my house. I look at you lonely. I immediately remember myself in the past. That's what, as Chernish helped me, so I will help you," Chen said, looking into her beautiful eyes. Is not good. I need to fight in competitions with a risk to life, so it is unlikely that I can help you. However, you are such a strange and bizarre consciousness, you probably can live without me." He said what, and was about to leave. Suddenly, a cat grabbed his leg, as if she wanted to stop him or show something. "Do you want me to follow you?" he asked. This cat seems to understand the human language. So strange she reacts to my words. An unusual cat led him through the forest and brought him to a small clearing, where in the rays of the moonlight, an unusual flower is growth. The fruits of this flower seem to be in a small cage. The cat went to the flower and broke this fruit. Do I really need to eat it? Chen was surprised. Can this wild fruit be eaten? Continued then to ask the cat. Yes, I was not mistaken, he really asked the cat. A cat politely nodded her head, as if she understood all the words what he spoke. The member agreed to eat him, took it in his hand and put it in his mouth, began to chew slowly. Another moment, and he completely swallowed him. Surprisingly, the fruit of this plant tasted. Wow, what is it? Chen clearly did not expect such an action from one fruit. The flow of energy fills my whole body, and all previously forgotten events are remembered. Chen first encountered such an unusual feeling. Wow, this is the village. Chen has not experienced such a rush for a long time. Oh, what is this? He felt the color of his pupils change to bright yellow. Nothing tasty. He heard an inner voice, if it can be called an inner voice that communicates with him so much. It was the same as with a frantic dog. The same voice that in a moment warned him of danger. Use the granted force for the good. Read what this is your kindness, he heard. What does it mean? Who are you? Chen continued to be surprised. The white cat continued and saw how good changes occur in it. Wow, super. Fatigue accumulated during the day took off. I'm already starting to think that this voice will throw many pleasant surprises, Chen said with excitement. When Chen approached the house on the street, he was met by the younger sister. Linka, why did you go out into the street? Chen asked. Have you seen how much time already? Are you aware that you returned home 30 minutes later than usual? She asked. Sorry. The brother today worked more than usual, so he lingered. Look, I specially bought a gift for you for being late and a gift, he added Chen. Is this a 1,000-year-old ginseng root? She asked. This is only a 20-year-old. For the 1,000-year-old I still have not enough money, so I'm sorry. Yes, and this one is very expensive, probably? The babyling asked. No, inexpensive. The main thing is that you are cured, but the rest does not matter, Chen reassured her. Okay, let's go home. It's time to cook dinner. Brother, you are probably very hungry? Passing by the pharmacy, two guys stopped them. Oppa. And this, by chance, is not a foster brother and sister, one of them asked. The impudent girl stooped the medicine from our pharmacy, he said. I did not stop even in front of a 20-year-old ginseng, which is probably 30,000. Not true. This brother bought me. Never, and I have not pulled anything from you, she answered. What else is brother? You want to say that this found is able to buy ginseng? He can hardly pick up on rice. You completely, as your mother has become, steal, and you even lie and do not blush. The guy continued to scream. Chen did not endure these insults. With one blow of his right hand, he stopped this villain. I warn you, you can call me to find ours, but in no case will I allow you to offend my sister and moreover insult my mother, Chen answered. You dared to hit me? He began to whine. At that moment, his father came out of the pharmacy. Su Chen, what are you doing? Did you dare to hit your cousin? A cousin who does not recognize my mother aunt? Why should I recognize such a cousin? Chen answered. I scolded that fallen woman, that's all. And what? She is not your mother. What is the matter, you? He tried to make excuses for the rude. Decided that everything is allowed? Well, repeat! Chen shouted. The guard immediately detain him, screamed by the frightened father. Who dares to touch me? Chen said with confidence, and took out a contract. See properly, he told them to revere a contract. I am the official boxer of the club Heavenly Warriors, and you are accusing me from scratch as if I had stolen your ginseng. Want to beat me? Chen asked sternly. If at least something happens to me, then are you ready to cover the damage to the martial arts palace from costs for these competitions? He asked. Linka, let's go home. Chen calmly answered, I did not go home with my sister. When they came home, Linka noticed one interesting thing. Brother, you are so cool today, she said. You talk less and better drink a decoction of the root. From early childhood you love to talk to yourself, and therefore health is not very... We should correct it, Chen said. Baby Lin continued to drink a medicinal decoction, and at that moment her pendant began to glow. A moment later, the pendant began to glow even brighter, and as if flows of bright energy enveloped him. And then a little girl appeared from the pendant. She was very tiny, but with large and beautiful eyes. Who is that girl? Chen asked. She approached Linka and began to inhale the aroma of her drink. It seems that they and the link divide one space. I noticed what. So it was Linka talked to her and not with herself. In vain I reproached her for this, Chen thought. Is she a ghost? Very similar to Link in childhood. Aye, okay. Lately there are too many strange events, he added Chen. Can I really see her because of the berry that he ate in the forest? He thought. Brother, do you see her? The baby Lin asked with surprise. Her little girlfriend was also very surprised at this. Of course I see her. Wow, it's very cool. The baby Lin was delighted. I wanted to say thank you to my brother. After all, thanks to my brother who contains our family, the older sister and I can live. The girl said a ghost. I am also grateful to you. Thanks for the fact that you are with a Link all the time. I did not expect that I have another little sister, he added Chen. Wow, can I even touch her? He thought. I gently stroked the baby on the head. Hi he, how warm. As if I was basking under the sun, she said affectionately. Keep calm. I will try to earn even more money to keep both sisters, he added Chen. I definitely need to get out of 5 fist competitions. It will increase the prize money, Chen thought with confidence. Night's silence completely sank into the city. The streets and small lanes are completely empty. Twisting is knocked out to the asphalt. A beaten coach lay on the ground, or as he was also called, the Fat Man of Van. I cough. He continued to moan and tried to get to his feet. Have mercy, mercy, they set me up. He tried to justify himself. Interesting, but who could beat the coach like that? It turns out it was an iron wolf. I don't give a damn, they set you up or not. My brotherly is injured, is in intensive care, and you are involved in this. My brother lost his position and a good name, and even lies in the hospital in serious condition. He continued, first you will go there, and then I will send this puppy, by the name of Suzhong, after you and my brother. The Iron Wolf continued to speak. All this time he held the coach by the hair. He released his head, and then he immediately tried to crawl to the side. The Iron Wolf immediately noticed this, and took advantage of this distance. The Iron Wolf instantly inflicted a very strong blow with his foot, right in the chest of the coach. He had no chance to stay on his feet. He immediately fell to the ground. He came closer and saw how the coach twisted in pain, continued to grunt and ask for help. Beat it to death, he said to his assistants. The coach continued to ask for help, and so that they stop. But no one listened to him, and several hooligans continued to knock him down. A new day has come, and Chen, as before, was in the gym. He had a clear goal, and he was not going to abandon her. He needed to train to win. Working out his blows on the boxing pair, he began to feel how his impact power increases. The simulator, which shows the power of the blow in kilograms, showed the figure of 408 kilograms. Wow, this is a boxer of category D? Chen was surprised. He continued to train and work out the blows not only with his hands but also his feet. 610 kilograms was already displayed on the scoreboard. Wow, yesterday's red fruit. So well enhanced my power of impact and vigor of the spirit. And then withstand 5 fights. What, brother? We have big problems, Chernish shouted, who had just come to the gym. Do you know who your first rival is? He asked. It will be an Iron Wolf, said Chernish. What? He? This cannot be. Chen was surprised. In fact of the matter, an Iron Wolf is an experienced fighter prepared for competitions in Group B. But the owner of the palace put him against you. A newcomer, what kind of devilry? Chen recalled the words of Dr. Shun Yu. If these days you have no progress, I'm afraid you will not even come out from the 3rd match. He realized that she had betrayed everything. An Iron Wolf entered the gym with his assistants. The Iron Wolf, look, this little one turned so pale with fear, as if he had seen a ghost. You don't scare him off to death. Well, until the tournaments have begun. He, from the moment he crippled my brother, he is already dead, the Iron Wolf said. What continued to listen to him, but at the same time he observed distance and decency. What is it with us here? Is it a boxing pair? I noticed an Iron Wolf. He swung his foot and hit the nearest boxing pair with great power. Yes, this is 200 kilograms of a bag of sand. Su Chen is definitely doomed to defeat. The boxing pair was torn and sand sprinkled from it. Roundhouse kick is so honed, as if this bag cut off with a knife. It can be seen that he trained hard. Roundhouse cut this circular blow by a turn is usually applied to the head, which allows the use of the strength of flexion of the legs. No wonder that this is an Iron Wolf. Such a silver, smaller, and 500 kilograms will pull. Yes, only one blow will deal with this jerk, an Iron Wolf said with a grin. In the ring, we are measured by martial art, not by force. A frantic dog also had a lot of strength, but as a result, did he not lose the duel? Chernish asked. Then all the tricks of the fat woman is a bath. But he, face to face with me, with his 150 kilograms, can only wait for death, the Iron Wolf said. Ha ha ha, an Iron Wolf. They say that yesterday the Fat Man van crashed somewhere, so that his paralysis broke his pills, eat pills. Chernish realized that this bastard was noted by the Fat Man van, and now he was pushed here. Play with muscles. I definitely can't stand the impact of the Iron Wolf, Chen thought. However, the inner voice should already have recorded its technique, and I can look for weaknesses in it. Boar led to the opening before the opponent, so I still have a chance to win. Chen deftly noticed. Chen, what are you crazy? Why are you smiling? Chernish asked. It is better to reflect on how you will resist an iron wolf. Otherwise, after all, it's not even an hour, how it will win you. Let's better help you run away, added Chernish. Run away? The power of the company. Heavenly Warriors has spread to the whole world. Where do you offer me to run? Chen asked. I am a boxer, having subscribed to a contract of life and death, and must safely accept the battle. Chen answered firmly. You and I are self-taught. We do not defeat trained boxers such as an iron wolf. Yesterday he fought with me in full strength. To tell the truth, and I am not his opponent, but what to talk about you? And said Chernish. Nothing. You just need to study diligently and train as much as possible. And then we will make up the difference. Chen reassured him. For 25 fights you will get even more than me. I have agreed with one person here. You still continue to train. I'll be back soon, Chen said. Some kind of very mysterious Shen Yu decided to help me only out of pity? Sportively believe in her words, however now there is only hope for her. What went to the 18th floor? As she wrote in a note that she quietly left him. As soon as he left the elevator, he was amazed at what he saw. The luxurious penthouse extended from the 18th floor and above. Wow, yes, I am on this floor where all the leadership of the club lives. Only now Chen realized. Looking around, he even saw a pool in which large perches splashed, a wide variety of colors. Young man! In a sharp voice, they brought Chen to his sense, who continued to examine everything around. It seems you were mistaken in the floor, the guy answered sternly in a beautiful white kimono. Pray, how dare you wander in the 18th floor? Look, the legs will wind and throw it away, strictly answered the guy in the kimono. But Dr. Shen invited me, Su Chen answered politely. He must have in mind the mentor of Shen. I wonder what connects them. Maybe this is a student, but he is so weak that he will blow off his feet with a light wind. Okay, I will use this chance at the same time to talk with Shen Yu. Follow me, the guy in a white kimono said strictly, and he went along the long corridors. Like a halo of white energy surrounded this guy when he quietly, confidently moved forward. It seems that he dissected the air every step. Wow, Chen was surprised, carefully following his every step. This person will be cooler than the Iron Wolf, Chen thought. Passing along the corridors of this room, they were stopped by the guards, and they were warned to be more closely. Carefully, opposite you in the walls, auto shot is hidden. Be extremely attentive. Auto shot? Security? Really, Shen Yu is not just a doctor, Chen thought. While they continued to go along the corridors, a guy in a white kimono turned to him. Yes, that's what, he said. My name is Lin Hofei. My style is hunger. What is your direction? What style? He asked. What does it mean? Is there still a division in the style? Chen was surprised. My name is Su Chen. I'm a sparring partner from the first floor. I do not belong to any direction or style. Strange, probably some amateur, Lin Hofei thought. They continued to move around the room. Chen saw the inscription above the entrance. This is the gallery Crystal Moon. Behind the door was heard heavy breathing and sounds of blows. The mentor Shen, I brought to you the guest invited by you. The name of Su Chen. If suddenly it needs to help to do something, then I can also help. Let him come in. Please pass on to the uncle mentor that I will come to him soon. She answered from behind the door. It is lucky for you. The mentor does not give you his attention. Chen knocked on the door. It seems that this guy is not indifferent to Shen Yu, he thought. As soon as he went into a spacious room, he was very surprised because he saw how Dr. Shen trained us diligently, honing his skill. In this form, he saw her for the first time. Although the Shen Yu is not easy, her zeal and perseverance will be worse than that guy from the corridor named Lin Hofei. With dexterous movements of her hands, she continued to work out blows on a wooden training stand. Such a stand can be seen in most films about Chinese martial arts. Training is over. She threw a light towel on her shoulders and pulled out sweat. Hello, Su Chen, she said. I go with that pillar. Go, sit down, she said. And she went in a calm step into the next room. She invited him to a small room where she brewed traditional Chinese tea. I ask you, treat you, she said, and offered him a cup of tea. What a strict face, and dear at the same time. She must be not a very affectionate person, Chen thought. He made only a small sip of tea. He almost spit it out. What a bitter tea, worse than the therapeutic decoction of lynx. Will an ordinary person drink this? Sen Yu continued to drink it as if nothing had happened. It was necessary to put more tea leaves, she said. He put down the tea aside. Do you know who will be your opponent in the duel this time? She asked. Yes, I already know. It will be an Iron Wolf, Chen answered. Yeah, Iron Wolf. a professional from the Death Educational Camp. Their successful graduate, who has gone through the training path and honed skill in the Shaolin external style. That in the attack, that in defense, he is stronger than you, said Shen Yu. Simply put, you can't beat him, she added. With these words, she did not delight Chen in any way. However, it cannot be said that there is no hope. She noticed. I can help you, she answered with confidence. Help me? Shen Yu definitely starts something, Chen thought. But why would it help her? Chen was surprised. Well, what do you want from me? He asked. In fact, nothing special. I want to make a deal with you. I will teach you boxing, and you will help me do one thing, she answered calmly. Can I help you? What is this business? Chen asked. Secret, so right away and told you everything. You first survive in the first duel, and there we'll talk, she answered. And true. If after 3 days the Iron Wolf beats me, then there will be no. Chen noticed. But nevertheless, can I ask why you attach a meaning to such as me? He asked. Because I considered you a talent for martial arts and also appreciated moral qualities. And perhaps most importantly, you are smart. With a blow of 150 kilograms of strength, he laid a frantic dog. And if you throw out all the potential, then with your current force in the Boxer D, there is a chance and to beat the Iron Wolf, she said. How do you know that I have the power of the category D? Chen was surprised. Have you watched me? Chen was indignant. If, by the intensity of your pulse and breathing, I cannot consider anything, what I am for the doctor then? She answered with confidence. The master is a master when he can easily understand the strength of the enemy, she added. Okay, time does not wait. I will show you several tricks right now, she said. I will show you a very old, but at the same time a very effective style, the style of Wing Chun, she said. Any hand-to-hand combat does not do without spending strength and skill. To break a strong muscles of the Iron Wolf, trained in a Shaolin school, you definitely need to learn a break. In blow C to the destructive energy that I will show you now. Her movement was clear and strong. It immediately became clear that she trained a lot of time. She performed a series of exercises and concentrated all her strength in one blow. Having made a lightning punch, a bunch of energy flew right into the trunk of a tree, from which the leaves began to pour. No one is embarrassed by the fact that a tree grows on the 18th floor of this building. Wow, just a swing of a fist and what a powerful effect. Chen noticed in surprise. And this is called skill, Chen thought with enthusiasm. Eyes do not have time. Too fast, her hands seem to fly in the air. Come on, I will remember the movement of her muscle, so that later there is an opportunity to resume them. What he imagined everything in the smallest details, tried to fix it every step and movement. But why did he see it all? As if she was without clothes, he thought in surprise. Her hair developed as if it moved in one whole stream of energy. Showing this technique again, be very carefully. What is the matter with you? Why is your face red? She was surprised. There is nothing. Yesterday in Ginseng moved. Everything is fine, you continue. Tolerate, you cannot show blood from the nose, Chen thought. Then she concentrated and took his side. Chen leaned back a little. He is more attentive, shows only 3 times, she answered strictly. You can't learn these movements, blame yourself. Good. You gain strength from the ground to the lower back, as to the center. The blow is applied with assertiveness, the secondary production of energy during a wave of the hand during a turn in the waist, which is called the energy. Now I show a typical movement again, she added. Look carefully at my belt part, as she called her chest. She took a slow breath and completely concentrated on her movements. It seems Xin Yu finally became normal, Chen thought. Did you remember everything? Do not forget how to train what I taught you. Yes, sure. And tell me the little question where you can throw out the garbage, Chen asked. Judging by his bewildered physiognomy, the destructive energy is too complicated for such an amateur like him. And it was not easy to find a suitable person. It would properly train, and then it will be very suitable for my plan. Let it be like a dead it was not. Come after me. Let's go to my uncle mentor. See if you can get a gift from him. At this time, the mentor played Chinese checkers. Teacher, you lost to me, the guy in a white kimono said with joy. Something I am not in shape today. I lost 4 parties in a row. Only the difference is that the mentor played with blindfolded eyes. Teacher, brother-in-law Lin, this is a sister mentor Shen Yu. May I come in? Lin Hofi heard that Shen Yu came and was about to run to open the door. Hofi, I noticed that you have recently have a wrong tread. You will definitely move away from training, the mentor noticed. Well, quickly in the rack of the rider, and do not get up until it expires for 6 hours, he said sternly. I decided to put the Shaw's boy. The more diluted, the more it is. Uncle mentor, if Shen Yu... Uncle, as we agreed, the plan of the Dragon Sunrise began. You promised one good thing, she said. I have not forgotten. But my girl, I promised to give it only once. Looking at this young man, it seems that he is a weakly. Are you sure you should give it to him? Yes, the appearance of a person, they say, can be deceptive. It's hard to say, can it? She said. How impatient you are. Okay, be your way. In any case, someone needs to be given to someone. But I can only help you once, the mentor said, taking a hidden thing from the locker. Su Chen, go, he said strictly. I will check the skill of this baby, who was chosen by Shen Yu. And at that moment, the mentor threw the secret box towards Chen. He instantly noticed that some object was flying to him. What a harsh force. I can't stand this with my abilities at all. I thought, what? In this instant, his inner voice advised him to relax. This little one is not at all trained in the internal style. Perhaps you should not injure it. The mentor noticed. Chen felt something power disappeared, and he calmly caught a box. Everything is subject to and obediently exactly as much as you need. This old man should be a very influential figure. Chen continued to think. Ha! Girl Shen. It is very unconvincing that this guy is able to win the Category C category boxer. Is there any fights? You were mistaken in a person, the mentor said. Uncle, you should not make it difficult for a person's choice. I think he is suitable, but this is enough. Sell you. Uncle Mentor, I leave you, conductedly answered Shen Yu, and he and Chen headed for the exit. The mentor escorted them to them. He continued to think whether Shen Yu made the right choice. As soon as they left the forest felon, and she stayed far behind. Shen Yu was very happy as she managed to do something. Shen Yu, are you all right? Chen asked in surprise. Okay, fine. In the end, an uncle mentor, so I rejoice, she answered cheerfully. Is the contraption in this box very valuable? Chen asked. Not just prices, but in general a rare thing, she answered. The potion which is in this box is called the Pill of the Blood River. It is used to build a root base. Uncle the mentor had only 3 such things. He had already given 2 of them to his students. Therefore, this is the last. Chen examined her with interest. Something recently, I often have to try all sorts of strange things. Little and cozy room Su Chen. He took out the box, opened it, and gently put it on the nightstand. He sits and looks at this unusual berry, whether it is worth using it, and what consequences can be. The drug that is in this box is called the Pill of the Blood River. I wonder who will come up with the name for such things. It is used to build the root base. There were only 3 pills. 2 of them were already given to his students. This is the last, Shang Yu said, to build a root base. And if so, then it is suitable, Chen thought. I beg you, do not invent. To use this pill, whether something who is full of vitality and healthy as a bull can. Your younger sister is very weak with health. It may not stand it, strictly answered Xin Yu. How did you know what I think about? Chen asked in surprise. As if it is not clear what you want. You can say now, my man. I can ask one experienced doctor of Chinese medicine to inspect your sister, but you must first win the competition. Judging by your physique, after you use it, the power of the fist should intensify by several hundred feet, and the rest of the effects will appear when you slowly feel them. I can't think about anything else! Chen grabbed his head and tried to stop his thoughts. Since you can't give a sister, then let it be additional help for my competitions. Chen put a pill in his mouth and began to chew it slowly, as it was quite large, something like a soft chupa chups. As soon as the pill fell, and it began to dissolve a little, incredible things began to happen. It's so hot, as if the whole body is burning with fire. What he felt, how all the muscles trembled, as if they were doused with a wave of energy. It was not visible, but his fists seemed to burn with fire, radiating light streams of energy. He felt a surge of strength. It feels like the whole body was filled with bright energy. Previously, the Chinese were able to make energy, not only now the Red Bull or burn. The action of the pill still continued to open, and Chen already felt a huge surge of energy. He flew their house with a bullet. The sister at that time spat flowers. She did not even have time to examine him. Her brother burst into the room, or it was just a draft opened the door. He rushed past her with a whirlwind and would go the courtyard. 18, 19, 20. Chen continued to push up in his arms. Brother, what happened to you? Linka asked. 28, 29, 30. Chen continued to push up. In less than a few minutes, Chen already squeezed 300 times. Wow, such a surge of energy and is not at all tired, Chen said excitedly. The persistent feeling that I'm a boxer from class now. Indeed, a great thing is a pill of the bloody river. Link, what are you doing? Why are you dousing me with water? I can catch a cold. This is so that you cool a little, Linka answered calmly, watching Chen rushed around the house. Brother, and you almost ruined these flowers, as you quickly run near them. And you are very stinking, added Linka. I understand, but now I'm running to wash. Chen only slapped the door and disappeared into the house. In 3 days, Palace of Martial Arts, Heavenly Warriors. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You are a beautiful night and a wonderful fight. Greetings in the ring of the martial arts palace, heavenly warriors. Having come to the Palace of Martial Arts, Heavenly Warriors today, to enjoy the boxing competition, you made a really bold and wise choice. We, in turn, have prepared an excellent girl for you. First of all, I present to your attention the first participant in this fight, an Iron Wolf, the best graduate of the 38th release of the Load Camp, which has passed the selection for competitions from the level, has 8 victories and 0 defeats. He beats fiercely and lightning speed. He is an outstanding and cruel opponent who received the nickname an Iron Wolf carrying a knife in the light. If the Iron Wolf begins to fight seriously, most likely you can't hold back 10 tricks. Will you just put the shadow? Chernish worried about him. Its main weapon is the legs like 2 knives, against which it is impossible to resist. Greet him! The audience was noisy and screamed loudly his name. Wolf, Wolf, Wolf. The Iron Wolf reached the ring, and the excited public continued to chant his name, as is usually the case before the fights. There is no need to talk about the strength of the Iron Wolf. Let's see what kind of person will fight with him. And on the screen showed a photograph of his opponent. This boxer is a sparring partner of the gold medalist of our club, Heavenly Warriors. They say that he is an outstanding newcomer from the company of masters of the fist battle of the Southern School. His name is Su Chen. For 2 years of sparring, he independently mastered the defensive kung fu, and it seems that there is no boxer whom he could not resist. Let's all warmly welcome him with applause. The announcer continued to welcome opponents. Silence reigned in the hall. No one knew the second participant in the fight, which means no one greeted him. But in general, not at all respect, what a useless presenter I am, the announcer in the ring thought. So I thought that I would not take a look at anyone. Oh well, I don't care. Going into the ring, thought Chen. Although a little disappointing that no one meets you. Come on, Su Chen! The guy began to shout from the hall to support him. Yes, this is Chernish. This is a real friend. Chen found him a look among the crowd of spectators. Fighters are invited to the ring. The fight is about to begin. 2 rivals stood face to face. The superiority of the Iron Wolf was obvious, since it was from another weight category and had experience in conducting professional battles. The audience continued to shout out the names of familiar fighters. A rumble of fans spread throughout the stadium. On closed balconies that were well guarded, VIP persons appeared. They also came to look at this duel. A guy in black glasses named Tan Zian was very surprised by such a composition of rivals. The Iron Wolf is tonight. A good sight will be. He said his friend, Hepan. This boxer is always good, especially his legs. He has no equal category C must bet on him. He said of course the Iron Regiment will win. You, young gentlemen, really know how to choose. True, we have been watching him for 7 or 8 battles, and he never lost. To bet on it is a win-win option. Since the battles have been organized without rules, such as Suan have appeared a lot. They climb not for the sake of earnings, but for PR, which gets better into the fighting state. But in general, there are no real masters among them. Dear Tanzian, how about me to bet with me? Mr. Tang enjoyed the taste of fragrant wine and thought about the opponents of today's battle. How this amateur is annoying, he just to show off in public. The devil does not understand the importance of such fist battles, the gentleman thought there. However, the company of masters of the fist fighting of the Southern School still did not stop fighting at competitions for dominance throughout the network. We must observe if there will be anything interesting for our Northern School. I put on the fact that Su Chen won today, added by Mr. Tan. All his comrades were simply dumbfounded by such a decision. Dear Mr. Tan, can the show-writtenness of the martial arts of the Southern School be compared with the fury and swiftness of the death camp? Death? See how much their physique is different? Can this Sons be an opponent of an Iron Wolf? Ha ha ha. If growth was responsible for victory in battles, why should they then go to the ring? Mr. Tan deftly noticed. Since dear Mr. Tan believes that Su Chen wins, then we will put against 100,000. How do you like this condition? He is trying to be highly moral. Yes, if my father had not demanded to build a good relationship with you, hell would have paid attention to you, Haipen thought. I agree. I accept your bet. At the stadium continued to increase. All viewers expected the beginning of the fight. Iron Wolf against Su Chen. They took place between them. Attention to fighters. During the fight for life and death, the loser is considered to be a violation of the boundaries of the ring, or the loss of the ability to resist. Therefore, I ask you to calculate my strength. Hidden hint of the fact that it is considered a win that to kill an opponent? It is clear why the Iron Wolf wanted to fight me so much. Calm. Shen Yu taught that it was necessary to quietly wait as a virgin. He would attack with lightning speed, like a hare. That day has finally come. If you withstand 3 strokes with your foot, then I will sit your insignificant life. But still, I'll break the bones anyway. He underestimates the enemy, and this must be used well. Then there will definitely be a chance to win. The beginning of the first round is announced. Fight without restrictions, with a shield or on a shield. The audience continued to make noise loudly. Opponents have prepared. The audience continued to make noise and raise tension at the stadium. The battle. The referee announced the beginning of the fight. The audience froze in anticipation of this performance. The situation continued to heated. Concentration at height. The Iron Wolf had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. He immediately rushed to the attack. Chen studied the movement of the opponent and tried to understand what tactics he should choose. You, a miserable sparring partner, decided to play with me, just learn tricks? Direct! The Iron Wolf screamed, and he began to attack Chen. After a moment, he made a strong blow with his foot. The audience was delighted with such a spectacle. What was the surprise of the Iron Wolf when the member withstood such a strong attack? Chen focused on his defense, and he continued to be very concentrated and attentive. And then he applies a lightning punch directly into the jaw. The Iron Wolf did not expect this. The audience was very surprised. The Iron Wolf received a blow. No one could understand how this could happen. He made a mistake by carelessness, gave himself to this dairy. For this one blow, I will inflict at least 10 beats to him. The Iron Wolf was indignant. The Iron Wolf began to apply attacks with great speed, but Chen was very cramped and expertly avoided them. Participant Su Chen dodged the quick attack of the Iron Wolf. Not without reason, he is a sparring partner of the champion of Heavenly Warriors. The audience from the VIP and Ao continued to observe how an interesting match unfolds. The Iron Wolf tried to attack. His blows were very fast and clear, but not clear enough to get Chen. He moved even faster, as his life was at stake. Chen made an incredibly fast series of movements, and inflicted another blow right into the jaw of the Iron Wolf. Can't be! The newly made boxer Su Chen and a graded Iron Wolf equal in strength? How can this be? Commented on the referee with surprise. It has just received blows with a foot almost interrupted my hand. If I will have another such blow to me, very bad. A series of blows fell directly on the young fighter. Thanks to his skills and speed, he was able to resist. The indignant Iron Wolf began to lose self-control. What the hell with this kid? Where did he get so much power? There was no chance even to strike with a hand for the entire time of the fight. The Iron Wolf was indignant. Only accurate and proven movements. Great. We continue in the same spirit. Chen recalled every movement of which Shen Yu. At that moment, he breaks through the protection of the Iron Wolf and delivers another blow to his jaw. Chen, curl, come on! The audience continued to scream. Another blow and victory after me, Chen thought with confidence. Din din din. At that moment, the ring bell rang. Why did you stop right at that moment? The audience began to be indignant. The first round of the fight is finished, to stop the fighters and to disperse into their corners of the ring. Damn it, one blow was not enough to lay it. Chen was indignant. Wow, wonderful, they saved me. The Iron Wolf sighed with relief. What the hell, this is not fair. Chernish was indignant. A little more and Chen would have won. He continued. Something was very on time, the gong rang, Sen Yu noticed. Oh, who is here with us? Shen Yu drew attention to the people who were near the ring. Yes, this is Paolo. She immediately recognized him in the crowd. That's who is mating water here. He bribed the judges in advance, and as soon as the Iron Wolf was almost laid, he immediately graduated from the battle. Here is the scoundrel. What will happen next, and how the battle will continue, Shen Yu thought. Now the situation is very tense for you, Su Chen. What will you do next? Chernish asked. The Iron Wolf continued to cough and tried to come to his senses. Iron Wolf, are you all right? His assistant asked. Interestingly, this little one just took me by surprise, a little fascinated only and everything. When did this damn Su Chen manage to become so strong? But no one should know about my internal injury. Otherwise, there will be no respect from the boss, the Iron Wolf thought. Someone has already difference on how a sparring partner had given a frantic dog, and this greatly spoiled the reputation of our educational camp, Death. The director said, Boss, is they really hollowing? The Iron Wolf was surprised. Certainly. So one of my students last year with an overwhelming advance won everyone from the company of the Masters of the Southern School, won the only place in the prestigious Polar Star tournament. Now she has already entered the measurement of the Polar Star to transmit martial arts. He threw the envelope full of photos on the table. Most likely someone envies this result. The Iron Wolf examined the photos. Su Chen, how did he find himself on the 18th floor of the martial arts palace? He was surprised. Is this guy the man of the company of the Masters of the Southern School? I don't care whose man he is there. The company of Masters of the Southern School or someone else. The glorious name of the educational camp Death must be returned. Yes, boss, I guarantee that this is a snotty guy alive, added an Iron Wolf. The water was noisy and filled the wash basin to the edges. The noise of water returned the Iron Wolf from the memories of this conversation. You can't lose. Looking in the mirror, he thought. At Khan, the reputation of the whole club and his younger brother, who was now in the hospital. He climbed into his pocket. I took out a bubble for banned drugs. These are the same prohibited pills called XH1, which during the battle took a frantic dog. All viewers were waiting for the continuation of the battle. But what waited? We start the second round, announced the referee. The fighters climbed the ring. Su Chen calmly climbed the steps. The Iron Wolf in the first half of the fight received an internal injury. I only need to react more carefully in the second half. And he heard the strong breath of his opponent. The Iron Wolf seemed to reincarnate. His heavy breathing did not even drown out the noise of the audience and fans. Chen noticed that in the behavior of the Iron Wolf, something had changed. Opponents prepared, fight! The second round began, announced the referee. The Iron Wolf, like a mad beast, rushed at his opponent. His eyes burned with fire, and the movement was completely different. Su Chen immediately noticed this, and realized that it was worth moving completely differently. Very quick steps. The Iron Wolf overcame the entire ring, tried to clamp it into a corner. The Iron Wolf struck a very strong blow with his foot. If you remember in the last chapter, from such a blow, the bag of sand was destroyed. Su Chen felt as if he was knocked down by a truck. He managed to put the block, but still the blow was very strong. At this moment, he noticed a very unpleasant thing, like an X-ray picture. His bone cracked. This is not surprising, because after such a strong blow in general, a miracle that his hand remained intact. The Iron Wolf, of course, noticed this. He was able to break through the defense of Chen. He felt an incredible surge of strength and speed. With renewed vigor, he began to strike his feet one after another. We are well aware that this is the result of the action of the prohibited drug. From a strong blow, Chen fell into the corner of the ring. A large number of attacks passed during such a short period. Chernish and other fans saw how hard it was to keep such attacks, but still they continued to support Chen. Chen managed to take a breath a little and concentrate for a new attack. Chen made a series of blows, but the Iron Wolf was able to dodge them. Nooks of the Iron Wolf moved like a murder tool. They moved at high speed. What moved very quickly so that he would not be taken out of these strong blows. The situation is completely back that was in the first round. Began to beat the Iron Wolf in full force? The referee said. The excited crowd has already proposed to repeat the name of the Iron Wolf. Is it really the end for Chen? Say Shang Yu. Come on, Iron Wolf. Come on, act. Don't stop the Iron Wolf. Kill it. The audience continued to scream. The power of his body has become much greater. Most likely he ate the blood pills XH1. Chen noticed. You used the forbidden drug. Are you not afraid that it will check you? Chen asked. Fool. Do you think that I am competing with you in a fist fight? The Iron Wolf quickly asked. This is just one-way reprisal. My task is to kill you here, he added. After these words, the Iron Wolf made a series of blows. Some of them was able to block, but still he missed one blow to the core. Today, I will restore the reputation of the educational camp Death at the cost of your life, the Iron Wolf shouted menacingly. At that moment, Chen was on the ring of the ring. In the last moment, he managed to move to the side from a strong blow with a foot of an Iron Wolf. He still found his strength and got up in order to continue the battle. A little more, and with his strong blow, he would put me into the ring carpet. Chen thought. Iron Wolf, in all seriousness, wants to kill me. This thought made him concentrate and collect the remaining forces. The Iron Wave, as if a wild beast, continued to attack his opponent. His movements became very fast attacks, very strict and painful. Chen tried his best to block his attacks, and if possible to leave them. The flying kicks of the Iron Wolf, Su Chen is driven into a hopeless position. He no longer has the strength to respond with a blow to a blow. The referee continued to comment on the duel so that the excited audience would not miss a single moment. Chen rather jump out of the ring, because the Iron Wolf will beat you now. In fear of his friend, Chernish screamed. No, this cannot be done, Shen Yu thought. I will never stop and I will not retreat, Chen decided with firmness. Otherwise, there will be no money for the treatment of sister. This was a huge incentive to continue the duel. And moreover, I have an agreement with Shen Yu, Chen thought. At that moment, Chen remembered the training process that Shen showed him. He seemed to move to that training and recalled every movement and her blow. This allowed him to concentrate and betrayed new strength. The Iron Wolf was about to deliver another blow to end once and for all to his opponent. You will never get up again! The Iron Wolf continued to attack. The Iron Wolf delivers a decisive blow with a foot. It seems that the battle will end. He commented on the referee. The audience was at the peak of excitement. From such an incredible fight, everyone shouted and rustled around the hall. "I, Su Chen, keep my word," Chen said firmly, and took on the attack of the Iron Wolf. Chen withstood a very strong blow, despite the fact that the Iron Wolf— look, this little one withstood the frantic wolf, and the audience began to support him. Incredibly, he withstood. Su Chen withstood the jumping sick of the Iron Wolf. He commented on the referee. Su Chen gathered all his strength and began to attack the Iron Wolf. Following his fists, his incredibly fast blow with an elbow flew right into the head of an Iron Wolf. With sharp, accurate movements, Chen continued to block the attacks of the Iron Wolf. In addition, he inflicted a very strong blow to him directly into the chest cage. The Iron Wolf clearly did not like it. Zhuang Gun? When did this guy learn him? Shang Yu was surprised. He really has a talent for martial arts. Who would have thought? Looked quite a bit and immediately remembered. Shang Yu was surprised, so he took possession of the skill that Shen Yu taught me. Chen felt a new surge of energy. Chen began to work not only in defense, but also to attack the Iron Wolf. It seems that in the near battle of this museum, the advantage is you need to take a larger distance, the Iron Wolf thought. "Yeah! Now you can't run away from me!" Chen shouted, and began to attack with renewed vigor. He began to recall all the tricks that he had seen before. Explosive power, double energy. He attacked the Iron Wolf like a boxing pair. A blow, another blow. The Iron Wolf could not hide from his incredible blows. The entire ring carpet was then poured with drops of blood. The Iron Wolf realized that its coordination was broken. Bastard! How does he do it? Where does he get so much strength and energy? The Iron Wolf was surprised. The stress in the ring was at the limit. Everyone watched such a stressed duel with great attention. The Iron Wolf continued to attack, but Chen blocked his attacks. In addition, he managed to strike. The eyes of the Iron Wolf burned with fire. His gaze looked like the gaze of a predator who was driven into a corner. Chen's gaze was cold and concentrated. He completely controlled the situation. The Iron Wolf was going to make an unexpected head to knock his opponent outside the ring. "I wanted to make me back. Surrendered," Chen deftly noticed. At that moment, he grabbed his head with both hands and squeezed like a vice. Try to get out of this position now. He took a few steps and conducted an incredible combination. This incredible technique is called double flight with a palm bow. The Iron Wolf, like a feather, flew into the air. The Iron Wolf did not control anything. It seemed to be lost in space. He was somewhere between life and death. A deafening roar. The Iron Wolf fell. The legitimate realized what exactly he did. "Hey, what was it?" The audience chanted the winner. The Iron Wolf was overwhelmed. The entertainer said that the Iron Wolf had lost consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, let's warmly welcome the applause of today's winner. We thank the fighters to be a legislative wolf for this magnificent duel. The fan waved their hands and shouted, "Super! Only Chen won it. Chen, cool!" The applause did not subside, and the legislative went a little rest. Meanwhile, the entertainer announced, behind a fight in the recreation area. Only moans were heard. It suffered from pain. Puff! Wow. Is it legislative? What's wrong with you? Skip the doctor's time now. A familiar figure appeared on the threshold. She began to get something similar to the needles. "Dr. Shen, what are you—" He is greatly beaten. Igallowing and cauterization. I create a channel for the influx of AI and blood. How painful it was, leg. He only moaned, "Wow." "Chen, how do you feel?" "Already noticeably better. Do not worry," the study answered. "Well done." In such a short time, he managed to properly master everything that I showed you. Did not expect. Haha, I have the ability to grab well on the fly. Only everything. There are no other abilities. What a modest one are you, said Dr. Shen. Ayu, crowned in pain, Chen. Release in the ring 20,000, percentage of input tickets 14,000. Chernish, what do you think there? Shadow, I think how much you should pay. Even counting at a minimum, it turns out more than 30,000. Is it true? Super. This was very delighted, despite fatigue. Him Kim, torn muscles, help, live-in injuries, Dr. Shen reasoned. Indeed, first heal, for money later, his friend said. Fans not even diverged. We leave, the next fight is not interesting. Went. This Iron Wolf is worthless. They say a native of some educational camp of death, you see. That's all that he can. They knew before, put on a beginner. Mr. Hay, I warned you that you should not look at the appearance, now lost. The physique is legitimate, although fragile. At first glance, it is clear that he is engaged in Eastern martial arts, and is quite comparable to this straightforward tall lone. Do you know what kind of style is he? Wine chun. The Iron Wolf lost from the moment he approached him closely. The loser pays. Only now I didn't grab cash, I'll write out the check. Mr. Gan, today we spent the evening very well with you. I need to go, we will meet next time. This fucking northerner still dares to mock me. I'll show him yet. Cutting did not disappoint me. There was a check in his hands. Reward him with this check. Yes, boss. Office of the Director of the Martial Arts Palace Heavenly Warriors. I didn't think that the Iron Wolf could lose. In the office, there was an active discussion apparently talking about the battle. So, the chef gave him a chance for revenge, and as a result, he soaked the reputation of death to our school camp. This time, the position of the school camp in Hinnan was very shaken. The boss was indignant and shouted to everyone to shut up and beat the furniture. Only Bok Bok was flying, everything was flying. This was the release of rage. Good to scratch your tongues. No, with brains to scatter how to solve problems. A series of failures. Finally, the eldest calmed down a little and began to think. This time to lose the associations of Southern Fist martial arts schools. This is the loss of part of the chances of winning a place in the Polar Star this year. The old man in Minhee probably looks after the bitch, secretly fucking you beat this dairy. And they cannot be reduced to the qualifications of the participant in the competition, otherwise all the efforts spent are in vain. Meanwhile, there was a knock on the door of the Tuk. Carl is the secretary of the floor. Paul. Carl called him. Paul sat in the middle of the room and thought. There were many thoughts. Do not worry. The head of the department is calling you right now. It seems that in the case of a place in the Polar Star, I thought, Paul, does the teacher still give me a chance? Inside the half rejoiced. It seems like people from the Eden community make a deal. You just need to conclude it, and you will have a chance to get a place. Carl said. As for this, partners Reminion, we will provide this to people of Black Killers. One of them is just relatively close from here, and in a month, he will be able to catch the second round of the competition. Carl spoke. Yeah, I get it to do it. Bah! There was an explosion and a lot of smoke appeared. Here is 80,000. Indeed, in the hands there was a fee for participating in competitions for 80,000. Churnish in here even more than you pretended. To this, for sure there, the seizure of his hands did not regret the money. With this, Snowball now has a hope for recovery. Super, and they hugged happily. But Dr. Shen did not share their joy. Stop the gallow in the medical cabinet! And they both froze, obeying Dr. Shen's formidable gaze. The doctor brought a new package with treatment and said, drink this tablet. When Shen puts on glasses, she becomes very strict. I like her character more when she was without glasses. I thought as legitimate. She did not look so menacing and said so legally, let's go. He apparently did not expect that it would be so quickly asked. And right now? Chen, brother, when did you manage to get closer like that? I also squeezed behind me. No shame, no conscience. Do not say nonsense. We have Shen Yue. Everything is not the way you think. Badachin began to make excuses. Okay, I went. Yes, do not forget to teach me the technique that you used today. Then somehow, the timidly said is legally. Sign Gallery Bright Moon. Dr. Shane took off her glasses and thought, now you will be a reward for winning the competition. Reward? He thought surprised. This is the only way you have power in your competitions. The brain literally exploded from thoughts. I hope this, not that. But she only said you quit these left thoughts. Show the technique of Zhuanggun, and that's it. Zhuanggun? He clearly thought about that. Yes. Basic exercises for mastering the Zhuanggun in Wing Chun. Last time you spied and remembered the work with a wooden mannequin? She asked. This? He was a little embarrassed. Our Wing Chun, in principle, is quite common. Therefore, if you want, you can then teach from your friend, she said. Chedic to understand everything. Still, you heard he said. However, how about the rack of the horseman with the respiratory technique of the tuna and the AI cycle with blood? Have you studied these basic things yet? The legate had clarified. Are they so important? If you mastered Zhuanggun before the fight with an Iron Wolf, you could win without leaving his place at all. Wow, I was sincerely surprised. Cole understood, then looked carefully. If you weren't so beaten, would have been prapping now. Thanks for the help. He was very grateful. It remained only to look at the stars and put thoughts in order. Not easy. This Zhuanggun, thinking as a legislative. As soon as I get better, I will start reinforced training. Pei. Suddenly there was a sound from silence. Huanon. All in his thoughts was legally. Pai. The sound repeated. So you are here. Surprised is a legitimate. Cutting was immersed in his thoughts, but something surprised him. Two, hi. He took a closer look and really had two tails. Meow, the cat repeated. Ah! He screamed emotionally legally. He did not know what to expect from her. She completely showed her paws and he froze. The cat began to climb and purr. Settlement asked her, do you want to come with me? As if he understands human speech. Really, this cat has a connection with spirits? Thought is legitimate. Okay, at least she will be able to play sisters. And they went along the dark street towards the house. Linka. Snowball. Rather see who I brought you. The cat greeted everyone and said meow. The girls began to admire her. Oh, how sweet she is. Such a paw, just like a native. And she has two tails. And you liked it. That's good. He said is legitimate. You are probably hungry. Wait here. I'll bring you milk, she said one of the girls. The girl is frozen. Sister, what happened? But she did not answer. Link, shouted is legitimate. He was very concerned. What happened to you? Rather, sit down on the sofa. But the girl only coughed, Kike. Linka, where does it hurt? Sister, you are so pale, but she only answered, nothing, brother, everything is fine. Killed a little. That's all. The usual thing. Nothing serious. She took the medicine that you brought. Became much better, really. Snezhka, I'm sorry to scare you. Calm down, everything is in order with me. I will bring you a glass of water. It is more likely to do something with Linka sores. Mom is no longer there, so I will never allow her to happen to her. This building was very beautiful. They called me Mr. Ha. What's the matter? You quickly got here. Tansong. Silk. He ordered a man who stood behind him. It was a whole case completely filled with money. Taisun's eyes flashed. Mister, what is it? Here is 200,000. I need to teach one person. This boy. Here is his photo. He sat and studied many books on ancient Chinese medicine. 2 weeks have passed, and absolutely no progress. He was surprised. How many diseases exists, which cannot be cured either by Chinese or European medicine? I, profans, are at all without any reason to try to read medical books. Link can hurt because of the snowballs, no matter how all this otherworldly made me look for the holy Don monk. He fell on the bed, tortured reading of the ancient scriptures. What to do? Exactly. He came a brilliant idea. He remembered something. Shen Yu said she would help to find a doctor of Chinese medicine that can help her. Rather, in the Palace of Martial Arts. The door creaked a little and he went to the meeting. His path ran through the park, in which he often walked. This time he passed as usual, and did not notice anything unusual. The guy in the yellow cap paid attention to him. Does he follow him? He took out the phone and began to dial someone or call. Hello, mister. Su Chen heads to the Palace of Martial Arts. He goes along the same road through the park. The grandfather will certainly pass through the Balazan lane, said the guy in the yellow cap. I realized now the connection with the Tian Sun. I will be later, the Lord answered. I think you remember this bastard. The spy in the yellow cap continued to poke his crooked fingers on the phone screen. Tian Song, you have to go to work. The object is getting in your direction. It was only worth brewing fragrant tea with petals and meadow flowers as a door knocked. Come in, Shen Yu answered calmly. Shen Yu. Su Chen was very alarmed. They exchanged their greetings and views. As I understand it, you came to ask about your sister? She said. How did you guess? Suhen was surprised. What else can you think about with such a preoccupied look? She asked. Didn't you find a suitable doctor? Asked Su Zhang. I looked at the history of your sister's disease. No one knows how to help her, including even famous healers. I think it remains only to turn to the magical game in the damn hand, she said mysteriously. But who is this? One old doctor from the Society of Doctors, nicknamed the Needle of the Moscow region. But he is now abroad. He will not be able to come quickly. He will definitely be able to cure Linka. All the doctors who have been addressed before say that Linka has the highest degree of Jiao, is not treated. The skillful doctor of Mo Ra used to treat a similar disease. His patient responded that unclean power entered the body and unbalanced yin and yang. The usual replenishing methods were even more unsuitable for treatment. Does it really exist? And what's the results? Asked Su Chen. The healer and several doctors from Lunhushan jointly cured that patient. Do you not deceive me? Do you need Taotian monks to treat diseases? So far, I can't tell you some details yet. The main thing is that there is still something to treat your sister. Here, how? Everything turns out to be very confused. Su Chen got up to walk around the office and remove the tension a little. Dr. Shen, I went then. Do not worry, I will properly prepare for the competition, which will be in 2 weeks. Wait, she said, and with a deft movement of her finger threw him some little thing. With a deft movement of his hand, Susan immediately caught her and clamped her in his fist. What, he asked, considering a small gadget. This is called an all-seeing eye. A small device is a little larger than the size of the nail on the thumb. On the chain on himself. If suddenly something strange happens, click the button on it. I have special equipment, video and sound within 300 m around it, she said. Why do I need such a thing? Are you going to fix how I go to the toilet? No, an idiot. The limits of the Fight Club of Heavenly Warriors. Far and much deeper than you imagine. You, like the official boxer of our club, in addition to competitions and training, will have special tasks. In addition, once every 6 months, it will be necessary to contribute, where a large risk is most likely. Yes, I remember that the official boxers of the club is really every 6 months. There is a kind of bodyguard. Su Chen, I picked up this thing on a t-shirt. Let it be. Forewarned is forearmed. All of them. Why do you have such thing? Is this an interference in private life? He was surprised. She immediately took out a certificate from her pocket. Shen Yu, the second inspection link. Department for Especially Important Matters. I am an employee of the department for particularly important matters, especially masters of Wúshu. She began to wave her certificate in front of her nose. I got it, thought he. Write down my phone for communication at the same time. Wow, is it really a beauty gives me a phone number? Most of the buildings outside the beautiful shiny skyscrapers look just like that. Smashed small huts, where someone's underpants and t-shirts are necessarily dried. I am glad that now there is hope for the recovery of Linka. But if you invite the monks, I think snowballs will be tight, he thought. At that moment, something cracked behind him. Or someone was heard. And instantly thought flew in his head, carefully, danger. An incomprehensible person, in striped pants, and a strange muzzle jumped on him right from above. Damn it, who is it? Susan was very surprised, and realized that he should act at high speed. With a deft movement, he jumped to the side of the comma to avoid hitting his foot. The guy in striped pants and an incomprehensible muzzle landed on the ground, the roar of his fall. From his blow, the earth cracked under his hard boots. This suggests that they should be afraid. In order not to strain Susan with an incomprehensible guy, it is better to look here. This species soothes and a little hypnotizes. As you understood, this is Dr. Shen. I decided to change clothes after I sent the guy to her home. Oh, someone is spying on her. Who is this? Sister, and let's help you undress. Out another nurse jumped out of the screen. Aye, she did not examine her robes into her to cover her face. Oh, this is so fun. Apple, go out, she said without even turning in her direction. What an interesting name. I have already seen him somewhere. What do you think? Write about this in the comments. Oh, what a pleasant aroma. The nurse began to inhale her robe. At that moment, signals were heard from the laptop. The inspector, the alarm from our gadget, the all-seeing eye number 3. They opened the computer and began to consider action. He stumbled upon the enemy. Look at how this thin genole jumps high. 12. The path of the Tantui Severnaya complex. She clearly recognized this place. Only a few frames. The technique of this thin worm is so honed that it cuts off with legs like air tiles. For power is definitely maximum. Where did this guy just come from? Why are it so many enemies? Give me its exact location. Still, he is a very important figure for me. Inspector, do you want to go there? The nurse asked in fright. If suddenly they kill him now, then certainly my suffering will be in vain. Su Chen is now in the park, where the lane begins, in a straight line from the martial arts palace for about 13 kilometers by car and 10 minutes drive. Placing her fingers on the keyboard, quickly recognized his exact location. Lane. Where is this small one in a hurry? Inspector, call you a taxi? The nurse asked. No, I'll get a run faster. I love such girls, who are ready to get without a taxi. Running. I was surprised by the nurse. Shen stomped with her foot through the windowsill and took a decisive step. Inspector, we are on the 6th floor. The main thing is to remind about it in time. The nurse screamed. But the width of the woman was already flying down with a serious expression on her face. It is interesting, and with what facial expression you jump from the 6th floor, write in the comments. Her leather boots slapped at the paving slabs. After a second, she was below. Indeed, why they came up with a staircase. Judging by the just scene, this is probably Tansong, a student who received the regalia of the master of the northern school. Understanding this, she began to run even faster. This guy studied Kung Fu Old Sanhui for more than 10 years. So his strength is definitely not at a simple level of C. Su Chen, who studied only a couple of weeks, he certainly was not an opponent, she thought, dissecting the air. With dexterous movements, she jumped from the balcony to the balcony, overcoming obstacles. This is called parkour. And what? There is a man upstairs? The guy was surprised. There? There is no one there. Shen seemed to evaporate. The quiet rustle of leaves broke the huge blows of heavy heels. Ian's song. Each time I tried to hit him with his feet, Su Chen beat off his blows with his own hands, blocking his movements. Baba echoed in a quiet lane. The thin guy in incomprehensible pants was clearly aggressive. Su Chen moved very quickly, as he was afraid for his life. Clap thundered in a quiet alley. The thin genal moved very quickly around our hero. Think about it, nothing special, just some kind of little one. He clicked his boot and was about to strike. Next is an indescribable picture. Quick, incomprehensible movements, who, where, and why. Huh. Barely dodged. Su Chen thought. It's amazing that he still had time to think. Well, this type of vague legs, he thought once again. He can be even faster than an iron wolf. I definitely stuck into something very strange. Shen Yu obviously rumbled. At that moment she sneezed. And what is it? Well, you know when someone remembers someone, he sneezes. Or in any case, thinks so. Boom. Su Chen just blocked a very strong blow with his foot. I'll try to me against him a methodology for working with a wooden mannequin. No wonder he takes a place in every simulator hall. He relaxed, concentrated, and began to focus to beat off his blows. Sounds rustled the rustling of dissecting air. As soon as Su Chen began to work on him, there were deaf sounds and the thin guy decided to do something incomprehensible. Most likely this is a blow of a crazy heel. Indeed, it happened. The leg with a whistle flew right in the face, and he missed the blow. "Aye," he cried out, after the hard boot touched his forehead and cut him off. "You, a newcomer, cannot get me," the thin slob said mysteriously. He suggested that they strike one by one. Suns hardly dodged from them, periodically spitting blood, which prevented him from breathing. Su Chen, from such blows, in the chest was not enough air since all the muscles were compressed. Would get into his throat, the villain thought. Bach, bach. There was a series of blows with powerful legs. Susan tried to block these quick blows because of all his might. Clap, clap. The guys continued their battle. The blows poured one after another. At that moment, Su Chen attacked. He inflicted his own a series of quick and accurate blows. The thin guy in yellow pants was very surprised. After a moment, Su Chen hit him with his shoulder right into the chest cage, the most unprotected place. Damn, even in such bad conditions, this puppy is also able to hold a rack. A thin slob was surprised. "Here are the scum. They gave me false information about this guy. Quickly you react to prey," he said through your mask. "If I do not lay on the floor, then I can't cope with it. Initially, I wanted you to die more beautifully, having done it more carefully and quietly. Conscientiously, Tan Sun is his mutuisit. This Su Chen is not an opponent at all." He examined him in binoculars, being on the top floor of some kind of parking. "Well, now we will fulfill the request of a big brother," he said calmly. Shook. Came the blows, to the upper floors. On top the picture opened like in the palm of his hand. Close. Small pebbles scattered to the sides. From a sharp blow with a foot. What happens? Like a locust, he pushed off the wall, and after a moment the air took off. Su Chen was very surprised when he saw such an interesting maneuver. He also knows how to spin in the air. He was surprised. The hole in the zone of his attack. It would have to dodge, but nowhere to disperse the power of the blow of his legs. Smart thoughts visited his head. Bam! Bam! The thin goalist continued to attack by making the most unimaginable movements. If anything, this is not an upturned picture. He was really on top. Bam! Bam! Susan blocked his strong blows with sharp movements. Each blow with a whistle cut air. It hurts. Very painful. I did not expect that after dispersing the blow there would be such power. Shook, a thin guy, landed on the ground, like a predator considering his victim. Up. How he was able to withstand my crown blow, thought a thin guy in yellow pants. More recently, these events occurred. The young gentleman sat with a young girl and drank his alcoholic drink. "Young master, Big Brother came." He informed him of the boy in a yellow cap. "Big Brother, how long have we not seen each other?" he said, continuing to rub off his ice cubes. "Come on quickly, without a ceremony, or my long absence can be seen." I understood, I understand. Without unnecessary questions. "With Tanzian, I will figure it out a little later," he said. "There are enough money about our grouping. We will pay how much we need. I need to remove this person. Strange. I have already seen this photo somewhere. With such an authority as you will do it very simple." "Big Brother knows Su Chen?" He was surprised. "Do not ask unnecessary questions. In our group, it will not be difficult to find someone else, if you do not agree." After a moment, he turned and headed for the exit, and only the points in his head moved along with his brains. "Chenmin, call Tansuna here." "Yes, yes, my lord," he immediately answered. "Young gentleman, you called me?" "Yes, it is, nothing special. I need to teach one person. This is the same debuting student of the Wing Chun school. It is impossible. My father is a good relationship mentor with the master of Wing Chun. If I take this business, then I will not grow up. Do not forget that if my father had not noticed your skill, then you would still continue to poke around in the beds in your mountains. Your father-mentor must be already at a very advanced age. Don't you think to keep it in old age? Here is a cash deposit, how you will do the case even more. Although this tycoon is very kind to me, but the master is like my own father for me." He thought when he went outside, carrying a suitcase with money. If there weren't a mentor's father, then if I met a tycoon, he would hardly have taken me from a mountain village. In the city, I can stand everything. And the fact that many are chuckling at how ugly I am, and the fact that you have to fulfill dangerous assignments, because I have to thank the master for the transferred art. Exactly. Magnot himself. Nothing of itself is. The main thing is the money, that I can respectfully present my father to the mentor. I have long wanted to earn such an amount of money, and you can return back to the mountains to a happy life with a mentor's father so that he calmly lives until the end of his days. Su Chen will die. He returned to his thoughts. His eyes were filled with anger.
Rask.
He jumped again, to deliver his stunning blow with an elbow. Master, wait for me. Your student will finish this business and return to stay with you forever. Ha! He shouted. He made another blow. He, like a locust, continued to jump high and strike on top. Su Chen managed to block his destructive blow. No, I can't lose, he thought instantly. Inspector, you have not yet reached the lane, asked the nurse, looking at the fight on her laptop screen. You're faster. Please, well, something unimaginable is happening there, she said. Sujin is crushed. He can only defend himself. Defend himself? A little more and we'll be completely over for him, she said. Great, so Su Chen can win, eh? What? A comma, Inspector, do you say this seriously? She was surprised. Of course, I know that he has huge potential. Shen stood at the top of the building and looked down. Su Chen just began to study Wing Chun. But on the other hand, the future sparring partner, he studied the protection best of all. Standing to the holder only such a scattering defense, so I thought to death simple to death. Come on, Inspector, we act. Stop watching the guys wave their arms and legs. Bam bum. Again sounded blank blows which echoed along the quiet lane. After such a fight, most likely you will have to make cosmetic repairs in this alley. Damn, I can't attack in this way for a long time. The guy in the mask noticed that his hands were already bruised and beaten. With this technique, it is certainly necessary to finish him off. I thought a thin guy in yellow pants and abruptly jumped into the air. Is he really preparing a jumping cast again? Exactly, this is my chance, he thought. He is tired. You want to win the moment right now. Again, this voice in my head. Where did he come from? But my hands are already very beaten. Well then so. While this grasshopper in the yellow pants was in the air, Suns instantly reacted and struck his foot directly into the chest. With such a blow, you can break through the walls, and now it has struck its chest. How else can you explain the fact that they went so quickly on their own on such a blow? The thin slob fell to the ground by raising a cloud of dust. Wow, the receiver, as it turned out, Sujin thought unexpectedly. Do you know 12 more expensive Tantui complex? The guy of the yellow pants was surprised. Oh, you bastard. Secretly teach martial arts, he said insidiously. With anger, I lost control of my movements. I contact. A voice sounded in my head. Why can I beat Tantui in the style? He asked himself. Because I'm here. You? I'll tell you in more detail when you get out alive. What are you standing? Hit. I offered a voice to sound his head. From such a look, and even in a quiet alley, you can put bricks in his pants. Their duel continued with renewed vigor. Now their blows were on equal terms. Su Chen began to use his legs in the same combat style. After a moment, their boots connected in a loud blow. The cotton rang out throughout the alley. Using not only his legs, but also Sujin's hands began to attack him, stringing strong and heavy blows. Su Chen conducted a combination of strikes, and threw off the thin worm and to the other end of the lane. Oh, escaped from his mouth. How did this happen? He no longer had the strength to continue the battle. Dangerous. Damn it, a little more and corpse, he thought. His pupils mysteriously sparkled with a bright yellow light. It seems that he returned, and before us the usual Su Chen. Do you hear? With an incomprehensible respirator? Who sent you? Su Chen came closer and asked him. I am a fighter. I don't give out for my customers. The thin Genal said quietly. It's good then to exchange courtesies with him. A voice sounded in my head. Hey, rather kill him. An idiot. If I kill him, then serious problems will appear. For your self-legitimate self. Defense. Yes, but the excess of self. Defense will not pass. Suvin mentally spoke to himself. You hear a miracle in the respirator. Do not bother strangers anymore. You are our merciful. What will you do if this hell and then appear again? The voice continued to sound in his head. I have already turned on the all, seeing eye, so the Shen Yu is already in the know, and everything will make everything. After some time, he calmly went further along the lane, as if nothing had happened. Tan Song, the young gentleman said angrily. You were so worthless you couldn't even lay a boxer's newcomer. What are you understanding, the profane? This small debut with the power of less than the level D, and in just 2 weeks it has already risen to the level of C. It's good that I was alive at all, he said in a plaintive voice. Such abilities for training. This is not the genius of the world of martial arts, but a curse of the world of martial arts. He added, I can't even believe our beauty has long reached the place and watched from above. Su Chen really won this duel. She seemed to eat him with his gaze. Who is this baby really? And what will we do? And... Now we will have to clean the tails behind you, the young gentleman said. Interesting. This is still whose people. We should follow them. At that moment, some waiter in a mask appeared behind her, but he clearly did not bring any dessert. Hand-to-hand combat began again. This waiter in a mask clearly reviewed the films about Zorro. In addition to the mask, he also grew onyx. He continued to attack our beauty. But she, too, was not made with her finger. With dexterous movements, she beat off his attacks and struck. The hand-to-hand combat continued. An incomprehensible type in the mask, Zorro continued to wave with his own hands. Shen Yu, we perfectly remembered all the techniques that she studied. Now she has put them in practice for defending oneself. Who are you? She asked this stranger. But you will be very surprised to learn that she received the answer. Voila, in response, she received a smoke grenade. Now, you understand how to answer the girl when she asks you? Just throw a grenade at her. A fraction of a second, and the grenade exploded. Clubs of thick smoke were covered with everything around. Thus, the bastard decided to escape so that no one began to catch up with it. The guys realized that they screwed up. Well, how else can they explain that they were leaving in their car so quickly, it seems to me? Or is it really some kind of Citroen model? Write in the comments if you recognize this car. Wow, thank you. Big brother helped. Otherwise, we would have crafts today. I didn't think that you were so mediocre, Big brother answered strictly. He rode in the car, and he was offended to hear such words. Maybe he was mediocre. But he has a teacher. This is Tan Sanhui. The young gentleman proudly said. Is it really his teacher, Tan Sanhui? Asked Big brother. Where do you think they went? Of course, they went to a deserted place. Guess why? Have you already announced? Of course. Be calm. The young master has already told everything on the phone. Now the old man Tan Sanhui will definitely jump when he finds out about it, a big brother said. Damn, was he really fucked up? He certainly banged him, asked the interlocutor on the phone. The bright moon illuminated the yard with a dark night. Su Chen continued to train his skill on a wooden mannequin. He inflicted a series of strong blows to his wooden opponent. It hurts so. We should have a little rest. I think there's enough for a couple of days. His hands were stuffed and covered with bruises. He crouched and took a sip of his drink to quench a little thirst. I hope you don't have to miss the next competition. Meow. There was a sound from above and there was a rattle of claws on a metal roof. The white cat walked along the roof and slipped, and at that moment fell right on the face of our hero. What are you doing? In surprise, Su Chen thought. Pai. A cat gave out incomprehensible sounds. What is on her head? Su Chen was surprised when he examined her closer. A yellow fulu appeared on this cat's head. Ancient spell. Did he think this spell? What? Again this voice. Up, here I, as agreed. Not only are the cats falling on my head, but also these hallucinations. Do you still remember? What did you and I agreed about? A voice in his head continued to sound. Who are you, after all? Why don't you appear to talk to me? And why do you influence me? This is too straightforward. You can call me a shadow. A light shining image of a boy appeared in front of him. This is your second He said wait, or just thought it is not clear how they communicate with each other with words or thoughts. The second I am. Are you kidding me? I said something wrong, but in fact, I have a separate person who has been your body. A shadow answered. Enjoyed personalities? Thought Su Chen, and plunged into his memories when a cold winter was found in a cardboard box. At that moment, he saw a blue glow that was spinning over his head. After a moment, this blue light penetrated right inside the baby. Is it really true? Cried Su Chen. And finally, he threw the cat to the ground. Stop holding her on your head. Still, what are you? He asked. It's hard to say that I remember after I got into your body is that I am from another world. And from another world, and what does it mean? Are you playing me? What is the point of fooling you? After all, if something happens to you, then I will end at the same time. The task now is your defense. You don't have the body. How are you going to protect me? They continued to communicate. They think that you have already noticed my excellent learning abilities. In addition, you ate a red fiery berry. And why are these abilities only intensified? If you enlist his help, then please, I really can get out of any ambush. But if you manage to leave my body, you won't protect me anymore, right? It won't work out. You and I are not divided. Explained to him a shadow. Although you speak smoothly, but somehow I don't really believe in all this. However, except to believe me, you no longer have another way out. At that moment, Cute Pussy revealed her sharp fangs and dug into Su Chen's sore hand. Why are you biting? Let go! Susan cried out of surprise. Brother, what happened? Su Chen made a lot of noise late at night. Nothing happened, Linka. Go to sleep. At that moment, the pussy continued to squeeze her fangs on his hand. I know. You also go to bed early. She reached out and slowly yawned, and went to my room. And what should I do with this pussy on my hand? Not only is she falling on my head in the middle of the night and also bites her teeth. The cat continued to hold it with her teeth. She clearly wanted to say something. How difficult it is when these stupid people do not understand the language of animals. And you talk to their pets? To you. It let go. A scoundrel. Get out of me. As if a white monster attacked a little man. In such a dance, they circled for about 40 minutes or more, until the tired cat finally let him go. Enough for today. A voice in my head sounded again. It would be necessary to give you time to get used to it, added a voice. However, I'll say one thing to you now. The thing in this cat is the key to the healing of your sister, my shadow said mysteriously. Sunny rays began to break into the room, recalling that the night was already over. I was very tired. Shen Yu spent all night at the computer in search of the necessary information. I checked all the archives, and not a single clue for a man in a mask prepared everything in advance, goats, she thought. And to whom did this be aiming to follow Su Chen, this poor guy, she thought. Judging by the combat equipment, this waiter in the mask is not similar to the academic camp. There was a sound of notification on the phone. A notification from the Apple came. Oh, this girl, all sorts of incomprehensible photos in such an early time are walking. In surprise, she spat out all the water on her phone. It pleases only that he has protection against water. Kiki. She poking a little. What else is it? She examined the photos and recognized the guy in the yellow pants. Indeed, it was the very thin guy in yellow pants who recently dissected the air with his heavy boots. However, these are big problems. Here someone is obviously involved, she thought, or new thoughts spun her head. The next day, first of all, he decided to go to the first aid post in order to see the Shen Yu and check his wounds. Dr. Shen, I'm sorry that I delivered you troubles a few days ago. She began to look at him with a very angry look, as if piercing through. He was very surprised. Me? What am I? He asked, not sure. Shen Yu did not utter a word. He. The assistant laughed, looking at him from head to toe. Come. So far give me. Sujin as a decent boy. Brought a hotel girl, a basket of ripe apples. The assistant and the inspector's girlfriend is now. You can call me a berry. Call her just an apple, Shen added. Su Chen, are you watching the news periodically? She asked strictly. Don't you read the news on your phone? You can only call from my mobile phone. And he took out his bottom and unbearable Nokia from his pocket. Haha. Someone else uses such models. It seems that we live in different worlds. Assistant was surprised. So, what happened in the last news? I missed something, he asked. Very soon your second fight will take place. Prepare morally. In your business I will arrange everything. Thank you very much, I will try even more, he said. Take this clothing, said Shen. With his uncertain movements, he began to unpack the package and took out a beautiful white kimono from there. Uniform of our Association of Southern Course Martial Arts. The fact that you received this clothing means an official entry into our ranks. Is it really me? Is I worthy? He asked. Everything is fine. You are my person. It means that you have to have a corresponding social status. That's how... Something strange. But I don't understand what she had just said. Suddenly you will meet a boxer's colleague. Just tell me that you are from the Association of Southern Schools, a student of Shenzhenjiang. Shang said, by the way, this teacher, her dad, added an apple. And there will definitely be no problems if I say so? He asked uncertainly. While I'm here, there will be no problems. It seems that some are very worried about their daughter, Chen added. Go home to rest. If anything happens, I immediately know me. And do not forget to change your mobile phone, she said. With a confident gait, he went to the nearest Huawei-branded store. I didn't think that modern mobile phones are already so many. I grabbed money not today. While he was thinking about it and checked his wallet to meet some guy with long hair on his head. For a moment, he accidentally hooked him with his shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry, he said with an accent. From such a blow, all his things and wallet fell on the floor. Brother, everything is in order. A dark-skinned guy bent down and lifted his wallet. Damn, such a feeling how the iron knocked, thought Su Chen, and wandered his shoulder after a blow. Here, your wallet. He handed him. Wow, the dark-skinned guy was surprised. So are you from the Association's Southern Schools? Do you wear their clothes? He asked in a slightly broken tongue. I was lucky. This guy was delighted, and he began to rejoice at the whole street. I have long wanted to measure with the Chinese boxer. Choosing words. Only I bounced well too, he said, and began to wave his fists. We like this, a rule, cannot measure the power with everyone in a row, he said. I really love Chinese kung fu, he continued to speak. I had a great idea, he exclaimed. Let us become friends. Friends can be learned, which means that you can measure by force. Do you really like the Chinese kung fu? And thanks for agreeing to it. My name is Isai. It is very pleasant to meet you. My name is Su Chen. He grabbed him with his hand and they went further. It is amazing that they became friends so quickly, or it helped him that he does not know the language well. In a store of adult goods, there is an inconspicuous store there. It seems interesting to go to see, he suggested. Such places annoy me. We will do without it. Brother, you completely extinguished my interest. Yes, you can't go there. And they went on. At this time, the office of the Heavenly Warriors. Two men examined some kind of magazine with a serious look. That man from the Black Killers has not arrived yet? The master asked with a beard. He said that they unexpectedly gave another assignment, so he could not come. Another answered. Scoundrel! Yes, he simply spit on me as a director. The director of the sports club was indignant, and he began to angrily beat his hands on the table. A dog who does not think about the owner is a bad dog. His assistant decided to scatter with clever phrases. In fact, this time the authority of Jack Tan, he began to quietly tell him. Su Chen, along with his new friend, was already at his house. The sounds of blows were heard in the courtyard. They have already begun to try to put up with force. Or rather, they just tried their strength. Su Chen tried to break through the defense of his new acquaintance, but he did it weakly. I did not think that in some 3 days their relationship would become so cramped, Snowflow said. He also bought a new mobile phone to my brother. Linda was delighted. Ha! Come on, bro. What are you, not to get me? Continued to brag about his new friend. Su Chen was already tired of it that he constantly boasts, and he was blowing with a sharp movement of his leg. Just a few millimeters from his nose, his leg froze. Another drop and he would just knock him down. Hey, I just joke. He was indignant, jumping a little back from his leg. It's so wrong to strike, bro. A kick in Wing Chun can be so high. He was surprised. This is a foot and from another technique. I think that you can add something to Wing Chun, so I'll try to hone my skill. Oh my god. I no longer want to take risks with you to put up power, his acquaintance said in an uncertain voice. It turns out that I have less for one rival for training. Sujin was delighted. But why don't you use your legs, Isai? Asked Su Chen. Once there was a thing. He raised his trouser leg and showed that under it he had a metal prosthesis. Su Chen was very surprised when he saw such a prosthesis, since on his gait it was impossible to say that he had something wrong with the limbs. Bro, it's time to go already, Linda said in a low voice. Sorry, I still have business, so I have to go. Oh, I wish you good luck, Isai said. Su Chen went to the gym, and the first thing he went to his friend. Chernish, hello. Hello, Chen. Why did you come today? Yes, to see. They have already hung the name of the opponent or not yet. Hee. You defeated the Iron Wolf, which was the best in the CT group, and none of this group is already daring to fight you. For children, there was no names for the tournament table of professional battles of the club. Strange. The names have not yet been hung on the second tournament. It cannot be that the Death Camp left Death alone, dropping the face of their club. Hey, you heard? The rival Suzhong is not on the training table yet. Didn't the director call one of the Black Killers? Was other guys discussed? It seems that guy seems to have died. What else for the Black Killers? Is it honest to include left-handed guys in the tournament? Quietly, the director is going. If you worry that all the rivals escaped, then go to the ring yourself, said the director. Either close your mouths and continue to train. Well, what is there? Asked the director. Black Killers will prepare everything clearly for us on time. His assistant answered. Great. Let this tour be shrouded in a secret, this bastard said. One way or another, in the end, I got the benefit anyway, he added. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening a huge amount of public gathered in the ring. After the previous victory, Su Chen aroused great interest. The ladies and gentlemen, the fight planned for tonight is about to begin. Girls with fluffy hands were already cowardly and all their priests in the ring. The excited audience screamed. Everyone was waiting for the start of the fight. Su Chen, I have a bad foreboding. Maybe you will refuse today's battle? Chernish asked. Chernish, you know me. I have no way back. Su Chen needed before the fight. But my boxing intuition tells me that there will be something bad. Do not worry. Adapt in time, and everything will be fine. Shen Yu came to the locker room. And so the member number 1, Su Chen, goes to the ring. Laugh-eyes the referee. Su Chen, be careful there. Su Chen began to approach the ring with a confident step. Look, on it of the forms of the Association of Southern Schools. Come on, Su Chen. Fight properly. Kid, I'm rooting for you, people from the public shouted. And today's opponent from the school camp. Meet! An adversary named Douglas, the referee announced in a loud voice. Who is this Douglas? An unknown boxer? He is from Black Death? Su Chen was surprised. relieved by his metal prostheses to the ring, the new friend that recently came to the ring. Yes, cannot be. Su Chen could not believe his eyes. Asai, is it really you? Susan said the public. Hey, bro, we can see each other again, Douglas said joyfully, welcoming Su Chen. In the rooms in the VIP bed, spectators also gathered. It was heard from the window how noise and buzzing near the rostrum. He had already poured a glass of red wine and was looking forward to the beginning of the fight. I did not think that you could appear in such a place, his friend said. Hello, Xian, she greeted joyfully. These are his acquaintances. Today Fan Xiaovan brought her girlfriend Suji. I welcome you, Xiaovan and Suji. How did you find me? He was surprised. This is our little secret. I would not think that you like such combat fights by Suji. Yes, who does not have... What my father does not like does not mean that I don't like it either. But what? We will make our bets, the young master asked. Let's do it. Whose bet will win? You will marry that, I agree, Xiaovan suggested. Although this is a marriage by calculation, but to take in the wives, the one who is interested in the same as I look tempting. I choose the small one. Who is the name of Su Chen? And you? Of course another. And so that I choose the same. Who are you and you? Think only. What an abomination. Then they did not regret it when you lose, Xiaovan answered. Two rivals were already in the ring, and expected the beginning of the duel. It is strange why this person seems familiar to me. Have you really guessed? Two rivals stood face to face, and expected the beginning of the duel. The atmosphere in the ring was heating up. Fighters, we hit without regret. We don't ask for mercy. We got ready, the referee screamed. Hooray! Hooray! The audience screamed. They started. Su Chen fell off the place and decided to attack right away. Instantly, he approached his enemy and was ready to strike. He swung his fist, cutting the air. His fist flew right into the enemy's face with high speed. Douglas looked at how quickly his opponent was moving. Bats! Douglas with his hand was caught by a fist Su Chen. By this, he stopped his blow. Hey, so weak? Douglas asked with a smile on his face. I studied all your receivers. Yeah, I did not expect this. Su Chen was very surprised. With a sharp movement, Douglas lifted on his left hand and made a strong blow with his foot. From such a strong blow, Su Chen leaned back, barely standing on his feet. His combat style is not like a fist fight. This is something completely different. Douglas looked aggressively at him, as a predator looks at his victim. With sharp movements, he bounced from the ring and flew towards his enemy. What a high speed for a moment, Su Chen thought. Su Chen took his blow to the side, and he himself dodged the attack. But he was surprised by the following movement. As soon as Su Chen was about to strike, Douglas jumped into the air. It flew over it and struck a strong blow from the back. Keke. Su Chen began to cough from a strong blow. It really hurts. Su Chen instantly turned around and inflicted a strong blow with his foot. Douglas missed this blow. Oh, it hurts. Just Douglas received in the face, but still continued to have fun a duel. This hit with his foot was good. Yes, he agreed. What was it? Although this dark-skinned and strange combat style, but very serious along the course, the audience was surprised. What is this technique of his opponent? I have never seen this, Chernish shouted. This combat style is completely wild, where the legs and arms beat at the same time. It should be a combat dance. Is this capoeira? Somehow it is not very similar. The information about this combat style is very little, which is very bad for Su Chen. It's not good, Shen Yu thought. Bro, did not hear what the judge said? Douglas, member of the killers group, Black Killers of the Death Camp. These words were very surprised by Su Chen. Oh, you are a bastard. And you got into confidence in me? Of course, in order to explore all your skills. How else could I learn about the skill of your legs and amazing learning if I did not investigate in place? Asked Douglas. And now, until you adapted to my technique, I can defeat you, Douglas said. You did not think at all after another? Su Chen was indignant and inflicted a sharp blow with his hand. Do they become brothers in 3 days? You are too naive, Douglas answered with a blow. Su Chen sharply stepped aside to take his breath a little and look at the movement of his enemy. Su Chen began to move his feet quickly to confuse his opponent. He moves very quickly. Did he really use the path from Tantui? Douglas was surprised. Whoever gives me a drop of water, return to him a seething source, cried Su Chen. All that you did for me were small and trifling things, Su Chen continued to say. But for me to treat you as a friend of honor, cried Su Chen. I took an attack and grabbed everything with both hands by his head. However, I will not allow anyone to break my principles, he cried out. And he made a very unusual trick. He threw him through himself. Su Chen applied the reception of a butterfly with which he laid the iron wolf, cried the referee. The audience screamed from excitement. This is a tactile sensation in his arms. For a moment, Su Chen thought what it was. Hey, bro! Douglas began to rise to his feet after such a strong blow. Hey, brother, you beat too hard with your hands. It's cool, he confirmed. Douglas rose to his feet, rubbing his rumpled neck. He thought that the fight would be easier. Bro, it was ugly to her sides. As expected, he said. What continued to move very quickly, he swung his hand to strike him. But Douglas managed to turn away in the last second, quickly stomping around the ring. He looked at him with his own eyes, clearly conceived something. He grabbed his hand for the fencing of the ring and jumped into the air to strike with his foot. Not only did he just hit Su Chen, but he also threw him back, increasing the distance between them. Balancing on the fence of the ring, Douglas shouted to him, Tell me, what is the point to stand in the ring? Douglas shouted. At that moment, he pushed off from the fencing of the ring and inflicted a crushing blow with a knee right in the head of Su Chen. Having crossed his hands, Su Chen could block this blow and not get severe damage. But still, he had to move back a little because from a strong blow his hands burned with fire. This is the ring where we put on the end of our life, Douglas shouted. I am here to win. With renewed vigor, he began to strike at his opponent. A series of lightning strokes fell on Su Chen. He only managed to block blows. Victory is really very important. But this will not loosen my anger to you, cried Su Chen, and with his foot made a very strong blow, so that the crack of his metal prostheses was already heard. Su Chen was very surprised how Douglas, after such strong blows, was still on his feet. My legs were numb of such blows, but something is wrong with his body too. It was dangerous. Did he really learn about my weak place? He began to worry. I have to give up to the maximum now. Their views are connected. What is the matter? Surprised Su Chen, studying his opponent. Does he really have two weaknesses? Are these hands and heart? Is this only my assumption? His body is probably modified correctly. He comes! A voice was heard in his head. Douglas attacked. Su Chen tried to quickly take the blow to the side to dispel the power of the blow. A blow from above. A voice sounded in his head. Su Chen was grouped and prepared to block the blow. Douglas began to spin and wave his legs, as if making a turntable. Su Chen was ready for this. He did not wait until Douglas finishes his reception and inflicted a sharp blow. Douglas remained to sit on the floor, not understanding what happened, how he was able to block his blow. Bam! Bam! Su Chen held a series of blows, and with a sharp blow to his foot pierced his chest. This is wrong. This feeling. Su Chen thought for a moment what he was doing. Douglas clenched all in pain. He began to make incomprehensible sounds. He was clearly about to attack, but Su Chen did not yet understand what he would do. Ha! You shouted Douglas sharply, and arched with such force that Su Chen flew back. Thanks to his skills, Su Chen was grouped in time, and on exhalation landed in the ring, and having escaped the fall. He barely stood on his feet. He was doused all later, and his legs trembled with tension. This is amazing. I'm so glad that I came to see this match. I can't believe that Su Chen is so strong. It seems to me that he has a chance to win. Chernish was delighted. I would not be so sure of that. The fact that he stands on his feet is a miracle. He already showed everything he could. But his opponent has not yet revealed himself, said Shen Yu. In addition, his physical condition is not in the best form and differs from the opponent, she added. You correctly noticed this. Given the strength of the opponent, Su Chen can lose due to negligence, despite his skills. What was it now? Su Chen gathered his strength and restored his breath a little. Is it really yoga? This guy was engaged in yoga. It seems he wanted to overcome his weaknesses. The voice sounded in his head. That is, his weaknesses are deadly. The shadow continued to say, What? If my attack worked, then he would have been lying, thought Su Chen. If you are mistaken, then you will die. A voice sounded in his head again. Su Chen continued to fight such a difficult and dangerous fight for him. His strength and his opponent's strength were gradually depleted. The opponent in the ring, named Isai, had more power, thanks to the metal stiffener on his arms. He was still thinking about how to crush Su Chen as soon as possible. Then a thought occurred to him. This guy has already studied my weaknesses. Here, the protagonist delivered a powerful blow to the face of the enemy, who managed to defend himself. Su Chen suddenly thought, You idiot, now is not the time to hesitate. Then he remembered his superpower. I have this. Guy decided to aim a contraction strike with the fingers of his palm at his opponent's chest. This shot was successful. The opponent was unable to repel it. Su Chen saw the enemy retreat. The finger strike cut off his breath. Isai decided to counterattack. He wanted to do it with both hands. The protagonist easily jumped up and jumped into his opponent's arms. Standing in Isai's arms, the protagonist swung with his whole body. He decided to strike his opponent's head with his forehead, and that's exactly how he struck. The aftermath of the blow was so strong that the athlete even closed one eye. Chu Chen bounced backwards in the ring. The protagonist here thought yoga had exhausted his stalker. Isai gradually recovered. He looked at his opponent and pondered. But only the weak points on his body are going to. Looking at Su Chen's hand, he remarked, "You can't use your right hand like this anymore." The exhausted Su Chen realized that he needed to change his battle tactics. He decided, if I continue like this, I'll lose. At least I'll kill someone in the fight. I have to make a decision. I can't be shy anymore. The protagonist had no way of knowing what Isai would hit him next. Su Chen thought about it and decided, "Gee, help me predict his movements. So you've made your decisions. I will definitely win this fight." The opponents rushed towards each other with all speed. Isai decides to strike with his right hand from the turn. Su Chen has put his weak hand out. I'll block the right hand punch. The protagonist decided to use the adrenaline from the pain to increase the strength of his left arm, hitting his jaw. At the same time, Su Chen pushed off the ring with his foot. Isai had time to defend himself against a left-hand punch. The protagonist suddenly kicked him in the knee with his foot. His leg, he thought. The opponent lost his balance from such a blow. To keep from falling, Isai crouched down and grabbed the ring with his hand. He then put both hands in the ring for a leg kick. Su Chen was able to quickly dodge the leg kick. Isai made further attempts to strike with his hands. The protagonist fought them off and dodged them. Then it was time for the crowning blow. Su Chen jumped up and kicked his knee into Isai's chest with all his might. The opponents stood opposite each other. To win, each had to find the opponent's weaknesses and do it as quickly as possible. Su Chen looked at the other fighter and thought, unbelievable. He perfectly combined yoga with his fighting style, not to mention the bodily modifications. If it wasn't for him, I would have already lost. In a brief moment of rest, Isai touched his chin to his padded chin and thought of his opponent. Damn, he's got a grasp on everything. Isai thought about it. I hid my fighting style, kept my ace up my sleeve, even psychologically pressured him. Here the competitors kicked each other several times. They realized that time was almost running out. Isai decided to throw a strong leg kick. To do so, he took a sharp break from his seat. Su Chen managed to dodge the first blow. Then he realized you can't take a direct hit. The protagonist managed to hit Isai's leg with his foot. Su Chen felt a strong pain in his leg. He began to lose his balance. Here the main character slammed his back into the corner of the ring with all his might. The spectators in the stands jumped up from their seats and shouted, "Wow, what could have happened?" Then someone said, "I just saw steam coming out of a bruise on my leg." That's when the main character's friends shouted, "Chen!" Suddenly, Shen's cell phone rang in her pocket. She turned around and asked Apple. The answer came back to her, "You can praise me, boss." Apple kept talking. "I found out something about Chen's opponent." The female boss replied, "What's the point now? It's almost over." Apple went on to say, "That can't be right." After agreeing to all this trouble, I started digging through all the files of the death camp. Boss Shen quickly replied, "What? I'm waiting for everything in great detail. Quickly." Then Isai said to his rival, "Sorry, brother." He tried to make movements with his foot. Su Chen stood exhausted and held onto the rope with his hand. The opponent said to him, "There is a reason why I cannot lose." Isai further said, "If you had finished me off, it wouldn't have come to this before." The protagonist thought, "This is bad." Su Chen was getting worse. He was getting weaker and weaker. Everything was blurry. He thought, "My eyes are starting to get cloudy." The protagonist was thinking about what he had just heard his opponent say. "You have to take action. For what reason can't you lose?" Isai got ready to jump. He put his hands in the ring. He shouted, "Goodbye." The next instant, Isai leapt to a great height. The protagonist needed to defend himself from the blow. He just had time to think, "I had no choice." Su Chen grabbed the ropes with his hand and pushed up. The spectators were puzzled. There was an outcry. "He's throwing in the towel?" Su Chen suddenly felt a surge of strength. "What's happening? My body is filling up with strength." He tuned himself out. "So it's you. Concentration first, then victory." The protagonist pleaded to one of his martial arts teachers, Song Shan. "Let me use your tactics." Su Chen jumped up with his leg raised. This tactic surprised his opponent, and he only shouted, "What?" The protagonist stepped on his opponent's head and jumped over him. Isai was hit. He didn't have time to defend himself. The protagonist managed to land another blow. From the audience, shouts were heard, "Baby, just give up if you can't go on, you coward foo." An onlooker named Paolo said, "Pretty witty for you, kid. You'll live as long as you don't get mad. What I won't say about your reputation. Suchen lands on the ropes, and Paolo thought it's not a fine. Is this the discovery of a new foot technique? The protagonist's technique surprised his opponent. For a short time, Suchen balanced on the ropes. Then he pushed off and flew at his opponent. While flying, he dealt a crushing blow to Isai. Isai was laying on his back in the ring with almost no strength left. He made an effort with his arm. He pulled himself up, thought to himself, not all is lost. Isai had a severe bruise on his face and was having trouble breathing. Suchen looked at his opponent with great attention. Here he thought, it feels like my leg has broken into pieces. When Isai stood up, it put the spectators on notice. They shouted, this guy is made of steel. Did he get hit like that and still be in one piece? For the final push, Isai rested his hands on the ring. There was only one thought in the protagonist's mind, this is the final blow. Suchen stood in a professional fighting stance. Then his opponent pushed off with all his might with his hands and ran. Suchen waited fearlessly for his enemy. One of the main character's friends shouted Chen, you have to go back. Dr. Shen said no. That way he has a chance to win. She thought to herself, as the saying goes, silence conquers chaos. Chen is exhausted, unless of course he tried some moves that were difficult for him. Chen's friend only exclaimed, but Dr. Shen looked carefully at the main character. She thought to herself, Chen Su, you must fulfill the best kick of your life or say goodbye to her forever. Isai was already there. Su Chen only thought now was the time. He managed to repel his opponent's attack with his hand. The protagonist's injured arm and leg were in a lot of pain. Suchen realized that the fight would soon be over. Gathering his last strength, he decided that he should put all his remaining strength into this strike. He decided to strike with his left hand, and to do so he pulled it back a little. He was already looking only at his opponent's chest, where he wanted to hit. The protagonist made his last effort. Swinging hard, he thought this force, holy shit. To finally neutralize his opponent, he decided to stab him in the heart. The protagonist's punch has reached its target. Suchen struck with such force that his opponent simply flew back with a shout of ah. That shot knocked the last of his strength out of his opponent. The blow went through the chest and caught the heart directly. Isai's spirit and movements were stiffened by the blow. But he realized that Chu Chen was not hitting with his full strength. The opponent suddenly thought he held back what could have been a fatal blow. The opponents stood opposite each other and had no strength to continue the fight. Isai suddenly said, brother, and is this what you Chinese call friendship? Suddenly he said loudly to the judge announcer, I surrender! Suchen stood surprised and exhausted. The referee brought the competitors into the ring and announced, ladies and gentlemen, the winner today is Chen Su. The audience was outraged. What happened? Why did you give up? That's like letting someone steal a victory in mahjong when you were going to win it yourself. Fang Shou unhappily said, haha, I won. All right, agreed her girlfriend. I hope this sign will help settle the negotiations between our families regarding this marriage. Fang Zhao unhappily repeated, ha ha, I won, Xian. Don't forget to continue it to me. He quickly replied, of course, I always keep my word. The outcome of the fight was unclear to him. Xian kept thinking it was luck or a brilliant plan. A beginner in type could really use dark Jin. The crowd around the ring did not disperse. After the fight, the former rivals walked out of the ring, supporting each other. Su Chen said, if we are opponents, you will want to get even, right? Asai answered him, no. That would be low to my honor, and would insult you. The protagonist had to agree. That's right, he confirmed. Su Chen was hanging on Asai's shoulder. All he said to him was, hey brother. Someone in the crowd shouted at the main character Chen. The fighters were badly hurt. They've been taken to the hospital. Dr. Shen commanded quickly to the medical room. Anesthesia and splints are ready, prepare to set his bones. She looked at the protagonist and thought, you are just amazing, Chen Su. You have exceeded all my expectations. If you keep trying in the same vein, you'll become one of Skyra's chosen ones. Asai came in unexpectedly. Dr. Shen asked him, why are you here? The fighter replied, it matters anyway when we are both fighters. He was eating noodles at this time and said, buy us both a drink. Shen was angry. She shouted Doi back to the death camp. Apple rushed over and calmed her boss. Forget it, boss. The main character's acquaintance asked, how is it with Chen? Dr. Shen replied, he's still unconscious, but no longer in danger. A month of bed rest, and he'll be perfectly fine. Then the protagonist's friend clarified, would he miss next month's fight? Shen asked, is this fight really that important? The guy hurriedly replied, no, not at all. Then Dr. Shen said, okay, the others are leaving. Let the patient rest. In the evening, Isaias was sitting and resting. He was sitting on the windowsill and suddenly he heard a noise. The fighter turned around and said, "Yao, you are here." Paolo came into the room. Isaiah told him, "Let's talk outside." The next day, Su Chen woke up in the hospital. He felt pain almost all over his body. He felt bad, but he tolerated it. When he felt better, he pulled himself up and sat up. His whole body was bandaged. That's when his friend named Kuroko walked in. He yelled, "Chen woke up." The main character looked carefully at his comrade. He asked Kuroko, "Did something happen?" He replied, "I have some bad news for you, and—" Su Chen interrupted him abruptly. "Let's start with the bad news first." Kuroko said, "Well, your sister found out about your injury, and she is furious." Su Chen replied, "It's scary to even think about it." Then he further elaborated, "And the good news is—" Here Kuroko leisurely began. About that, Dr. Shen intervened in the conversation. She turned to her subordinate Apple. "You tell him." She was indignant. "What? Why me?" "Because you're the one who's closest to him." Apple agreed. "Well, if the boss says so." She began to speak in order to Chen Su. "To begin with, we have only bad and terrible news for you. Are you sure you still want to hear it?" He answered bravely, "Yes. I think it will be fine, I can handle it." Apple pulled out a computer tablet. She pointed, "In that case, don't blame me if something happens." The boy was puzzled. Su Chen took the tablet and said this. The girl quickly added, "This is all the information I have on Douglas." This interested the protagonist. To him, Douglas had previously been introduced as Isai. The guy was looking at the tablet and reading. Douglas, real name unknown and shadowy murder code number. He was born into a poor African family. Su Chen saw pictures of poor Africans in the clipboard. He read on, people got into huge fights every day just to have food on the table. Because of the harsh realities of life, Alchik had to fight and kill his enemies from a young age to survive. Douglas was the strongest and most talented child in the village. Its enormous potential was discovered by the death camp by accident. One day, representatives of a fighting clan found him. The death camp offered him to join them. In return, they would save his family, even the whole village. Douglas had no choice. He said yes. From that moment on, the future fighter's life changed. For his family, he joined a death camp. Soon, he joined the Shadow Kill. Douglas had to go through a lot to get the result. He went through hell training with them, but he hung in there for his family. Su Chen reread the information once more. He repeated the shadow killing this. Dr. Shen dryly remarked, "The secret hand of the death camp that specialized in conducting difficult duels." Shen ended the conversation, so they will do anything to win. In the hallway of the hospital, Kuroko was talking to Apple. The death camp had something like that. Isn't that a bit of a stretch? The girl answered him. The scary thing is, they say their bodies can tolerate any modifications. Apple walked into the main character's room. She told him, "It's true. I even found out that they draw energy from out of this world." The guy was surprised. Kuroko was surprised by the girl's words. He told her, "You seem to have watched too many movies." Apple replied rudely, "Shut up." The protagonist thought to himself, "Another world. Is it related to G?" He began to look further into the tablet for information. One day Douglas Isai was brought in for treatment. He was badly beaten, but alive. At the hospital, Douglas was met by his boss. The fighter told him cheerfully, "Yo, man. Had a little accident, but I completed the mission." The boss replied, "That's enough. Good job. I'll send more money to your family this time." Lying on the stretcher, the guy thanked thank you. Then one of the doctors asked boss, "Can we still use Douglas?" He replied, "Why not?" There were some medical personnel passing by. They were carrying implants. "Careful, it's a fresh batch." The doctors wheeled past a set of implants. They were meant for Douglas. The soldier was lying in the ward, and on the wall he saw a projected image of the American Valley. To himself he thought, "Ugh, the view here is just awful." Douglas did not take his eyes off the wall. He kept repeating to himself, "I really want to see my village again." Then his boss asked him, "Why don't you go home?" The fighter said irritably, "Old man, have you looked at the condition of my body now?" The boss replied, "It's nothing with modern technology and with my money. Fixing you isn't that hard." Douglas was lying on the bed. He was missing a leg and both arms. Douglas thought in the end, some sacrifices had to be made. The medics gave the fighter a new leg and arms. The doctors watched the process closely. The device is normal, so is the patient. Then the boss said it's not too late to back out. Douglas said decisively, "Begin." He reassured himself not to be afraid by thinking I must see my family again. Douglas was going through a long rehabilitation process. He needed to recover from his past fights. After the transplant of new arms and legs, he started training. It was important for the fighter to test the power quality of the new arm. He trained on a punching bag. Douglas noticed that his punching speed had increased. The punching bag was flying a great distance away from him. A boss walked into the training room and asked, "How does it feel?" The fighter replied, "Cool." Douglas narrated further, "Honestly, this new body is pretty good. I can even control the strength of my punches by changing the flow of my breath in my body." But the fighter looked at his silent boss and asked, "I don't have much time left, don't I?" "You don't have to hide it, old man." In a humble voice, Douglas spoke as a killer. "I'm very attuned to my own body. Ever since I had surgery, I feel like something is wrong with my heart. Not to mention the side effects of regulating the flow of breath in my body." One of the medics said guiltily, "It's my fault, I'm truly sorry." The boss has spoken. Despite standing on your feet again, the prosthetic material proves to have deadly side effects on your heart at best. After a short pause, the boss said, "You have 5 years left." Trying not to show emotion, Douglas said, "Wow, I'm in huge shock." The fighter walked up to the medic and put his arms around his neck. "Brother, if you have another mission for me, give me as much as you can. I need to make more money while I'm still alive." The fighter further pondered aloud, "I want to live the rest of my time without regret." Here one of the medics asked boss, "Do we still need to keep Douglas around?" Head replied, "Why not? Even if he is a failed product, use it while you can." The boss further added, "Tell the engineers that this type of earth material is not suitable for human modifications, and find some other use for it." The medic replied obediently, "Okay." The fighter continued his dangerous labor after rehabilitation. In the years that followed, Douglas took mission after mission in search of profit. As the fighter went through the ordeal, he realized he wasn't doing it all for nothing. Douglas had a dream. The fighter envisioned himself healthy and surrounded by his loved ones. He wanted to see his family happy. Having completed another dangerous mission, the fighter received his fee. Okay, more money this time. Douglas was thinking more often that maybe he should call it a day. I wondered how everyone was doing back home. One day, he got a call from his boss. The old man. What kind of errands? The ringleader gave him the details. Douglas kept repeating his name, Su Cheng. "Okay, no problem, but after this match." The fighter looked up into the blue sky, thought for a moment, and said over the phone, "I want to go home." He realized that his strength was running out. "Even if I strengthen my body with yoga, I have very little time left." Walking through the woods, he told his boss, "I want to spend some days with my family." The ringleader demanded victory. The fighter agreed, "If only I win." Okay, leave it to me now, I'm on fire." Douglas continued to walk in the woods. He was making plans for his future victory and retirement. Suchen was impressed by his opponent's background. "So you say." Looking at the clipboard, he continued, "No matter how the duel ended, he would still die." Apple said sadly, "That's exactly right." The main character thought about it and said, Dr. Shen held out the letter to Su Chen and said, "He also left a letter for you. He was found this morning on the table. Honestly, his handwriting is just awful." Shen grabbed Apple's ear and said, "Okay, take your time, we're just about to leave." The girl replied, "Boss, please be gentle." The protagonist sat and thought for a long time. He couldn't make up his mind to open the envelope. After waiting for a little while, Su Chen opened the envelope, took out the letter, and began to read. Different thoughts took over the protagonist while reading. "Hey brother, how do you feel receiving my very first letter written in Chinese? To be honest, I think it's pretty amazing. Heck, there's so much I wanted to tell you, but ignore it." Su Chen, while reading, suddenly visualized Douglas writing this message. "I'll be brief. The old man always says that he is too talkative for an assassin. By the time you read this letter, I will most likely have already left this world. My mission was to kill you, but unfortunately I failed in that task. So I gave up. You don't have to worry though. Someone stronger than me will come looking for you." In some very real way, the protagonist imagined Douglas as he finished writing the letter in the late afternoon and packed it up. After that, the fighter stood looking out the window at the moon for a long time. Su Chen finished reading the last lines. "One last thing. You and I are not friends. I got close to you in order to find out information that I could use against me." The ending of the letter was just clear and tragic. "So we'll probably never see each other again." The protagonist is brooding. Looks like he's trying to end you once and for all. Su Chen continued to ponder. "No, He's doing this to protect me. It's also to tell me that I'm in danger. Is that so? Then I need to get better soon. Do you know how much strength I put in for you this time? The protagonist was talking to himself. You tell me to get stronger. Take better care of yourself. Douglas suddenly found himself in an unfamiliar room. He heard a sharp question. Why didn't you kill him? The fighter hung suspended by his arms. Paolo stood in front of him and gave him a stern look. The fighter answered, Douglas began to explain, I told you earlier that I didn't want to kill him. He thought to himself. He tried to spare me even in my last moments. He may be naive, but he really got through to me. Vizia Douglas continued. As a fighter, I showed him the respect he deserved. Paolo replied, don't forget, you're a murderer. Another man came up behind Paolo. The fighter meanwhile continued to speak, but I will never forget my beautiful village. It will always be my dream. Paolo asked incredulously, are you going to give up going back to your village for this child? Douglas, you replied sadly. With the time I had left, I'd never get home anyway, would I? Paolo thought for a moment. After a short thought, Paolo said firmly to his subordinate, execute Plan B. Douglas continued to be in detention. He did not know exactly where he was. A little later, Paolo met with his subordinate and asked him, how was Plan B going? The handyman clearly answered, it will start tonight. Then Paolo turned his back and said, be careful not to overdo it. This is not the time to burn bridges with the Southern-style Fists Association. The subordinate assured, calm down, it's already done. Paolo inquired, have you heard from Aiden? Subordinate responded, the goods should arrive in 3 months at the latest. Paolo rejoiced, how impressive. Here he once again turned to his subordinate. And before that, just do everything as usual, we'll play with this Seuss baby some more. Douglas did not think of giving up. He shook the chains on which he hung with all his might. The fighter thought to break the chains and free himself. Some guys came in. They saw Douglas's attempts to free himself and told him, don't waste your energy. Paolo specifically designed these chains to hold you. Just spend the rest of your days here quietly. The fighter was thinking to himself, get rid of me as soon as I'm no longer useful. This is indeed the fate of an assassin, but I can't die. There's something else I have to do here. Douglas said suddenly, turning to the boys. Hey, you mean I can't free myself from these chains? The guy confidently replied, sure, I bet you 100 yen that you can't. The fighter suddenly said cheerfully, that's how it is. Suddenly, Douglas grabbed the chains with his hands and broke them with all his might. The release of the fighter shocked the guys, they didn't know what to do. Douglas confidently jumped to the floor. He was full of strength and energy. Here he held out his hand to one of the guys and jokingly demanded money from him for the lost bet. Pay up. The guy pulled out a gun and pointed it at the Zamri fighter. The next instant, Douglas accelerated and rushed at him. The fighter in flight managed to wrap his legs around the neck of the guy who was holding the gun. With a professional touch, he tossed it aside. The armed guy became non-threatening. He fell to the floor. Then the other guy, coming out of his daze, grabbed a gun and started shooting toward Douglas. Thanks to his dexterity, the fighter fended off flying bullets with his iron hands. The fighter grasped the gun with an iron grip. Douglas squeezed the gun with great force and it crumbled. The fighter turned to the guy. Hey bro, didn't Paolo tell you? Normal bullets don't work on me. The next moment he hit the guy in the face with all his might, and he fell unconscious. Douglas went through the victim's pockets and pulled out an access card and money. Taking the bill, he said, pay up. Next, the fighter headed for the exit. He was able to open the door using the card. When Douglas left the premises, he saw a group of armed men, all aiming at him. The fighter said with feigned surprise, my God, can't you do your homework? The commander shouted to his armed subordinates, fire! Douglas was hit by a swarm of bullets from all directions. The soldier was not killed or wounded. Thanks to his phenomenal reaction, Douglas dodged or repelled all the bullets with his metal arms. The fighter suddenly began to jump on the spot and spin as if in a dance. He was spinning so fast that to the expressive people who came, he seemed as if he were in the center of a whirlwind. Suddenly, the armed guards felt that the temperature in the room was rising. It's so hot in here, what's going on? Douglas stopped. Puffs of vapor seemed to be billowing around him. The guards suddenly wondered, is the friction between his blow and the air causing this heat? The guards didn't even have the strength to move anymore. As he passed them, Douglas said, hey brother, will you move? Here the fighter added, oh, you should try to cool down as soon as possible. Otherwise, through the heat, the guards heard your blood vessels explode because of the surrounding heat, and so it did. Falling down, the guards shouted, Douglas escaped. Catch him. The fighter was able to find his way out of the underground bunker. Exiting through the door, he found himself on a city street. It was a clear night over the city. The moon was shining brightly. Douglas suddenly said, the moon looks very beautiful tonight. It is a good night to kill people. At the same time, Su Chen was in the hospital. Suddenly, the outline of a girl appeared in the starry sky. It was as if she had descended from the sky to the roof of the building. She was wearing a blue suit with long hair. The girl looked down on the city from above. Douglas suddenly remembered his important matters, and he ran with the thought, "But I will definitely save you, brother." Su Chen was having dinner at the hospital at this time. The protagonist had dinner in the hospital. To regain his strength, he consumed meat, eggs, and fruit. His friend told Chen, "Eat, heal your bones." The protagonist was brought refills. His right hand was hanging from the bandage. He happily swallowed the food with his left hand without any problems. Su Chen asked, "How is Lin doing these days?" His friend replied, "She is still angry with you. She doesn't want to see you until you get better." The protagonist suddenly heard an inner voice. "She's your mom or your wife?" He thought to himself, "She's my sister." Su Chen thanked. "Thank you for taking care of her. I know you also have your own family to worry about." His friend said, "Don't worry about it. We are friends." The mysterious girl was still standing on the roof. It was as if she was waiting for something and kept looking at her watch. From behind, someone came up to her and said, "You don't have to look, I'm already here." She turned around and saw Douglas. The girl was greatly surprised. Suddenly, abruptly, she threw the knife in the direction of the hospital. Douglas suddenly shouted, "Wait!" The fighter jumped up and with a professional leg kick was able to repel the flying knife. The impact caused him to lose his balance and start falling off the building. At the last moment, he grabbed the edge of the roof with his hand. With a deft movement, he pulled himself up and jumped back onto the roof. Standing firmly on his feet, Douglas took a breather. He turned to the girl and began to speak. "Normally in a situation like this, you'd ask me why I'm here first, right?" The girl answered him calmly. "We're all killers here. Where I choose to kill my target is none of your business, isn't it?" The fighter answered her. "You're still the same as ever." After a short pause, the girl asked, "Why did you betray us?" Douglas replied, "I didn't pass on you. I know my body better than anyone, so I wanted to protect something before I died." The fighter continued, "Paolo did not respect my principles." 20, the girl clarified, "That's right." The girl suddenly repeated her question, "Is that so?" She rushed toward Douglas. She shouted to him, "Then let us fight," and swung for a blow. The fighter manages to intercept her kick and block it with his arm. The girl tried to kick him with all her might. He managed to grab her leg. The next instant, grabbing the girl's leg, swung her around and smashed her with all his might against the roof. The impact almost took away the girl's strength. Douglas decided to strike back. To do so, he jumped up high. He tried to jump on top of the girl, but she dodged him. The force of Douglas's blow cracked the roof. After a moment, the fighter stood there, not realizing where his enemy had gone. Suddenly, the girl swooped down from the side and grabbed Douglas's neck with her legs. Here, she twisted him with a professional hold. The fighter fell to the ground. Lying on the ground, he could not move. His neck was wrapped around the girl's legs. He made convulsive attempts to free himself, but could not. In the next instant, the girl was already sitting on his back with her legs around his neck. Douglas gasped, but there was nothing he could do. He was making desperate attempts to free himself. "Damn it, I can't beat her in this position." The fighter was thinking, "This is the end." Douglas realized that he didn't have long to live. Panting, he decided to try and strike. The fighter was able to free his hand and punch the girl in the face. Douglas's blow sent the girl flying backwards. The girl was on her feet. She turned to the fighter with the words, "Isn't that an African martial dance?" Douglas said, "There are never too many ways to save your life." The girl smiled slyly here. She started to take off her gloves and said, "In that case," Killer Girl took off her gloves and said, "There are never too many ways to kill a person." The girl stood in front of Douglas. A poisonous vapor was coming from her hands. Douglas was scared out of his wits. Now his deadly opponent had become even more dangerous. The fighter thought, "Not good. I don't think I can win." Suddenly the moon was covered by clouds. 3. The fighter has given himself the attitude, "I must win, even if I can't." The girl prepared to attack. She leapt over the fighter in midair, ending up behind him. In order to hit her opponent, the girl wanted to strike him with her hand. Fighter has time to defend against that punch. Here, the girl jumped on the enemy from behind and wrapped her legs around him and wanted to touch his face with her poisonous hand. The fighter realized he had to act quickly. He decided to fall on his back. With all his might, he collapsed on his back, crushing the murderous girl. She only shouted, "Ah!" Douglas jumped up quickly to his feet. He was ready to fight on. The girl managed to touch his face a little. The guy touched his face and said, "Not good." So the killer girl decided to take her shoes off. There was a poisonous vapor coming from her bare feet. The fighter immediately cheered up and said, "If your body wasn't poisonous, I would love to fight a beauty like you. Here the girl replied sharply. The beautiful flower has thorns. She rushed to the attack and hit the guy in the face with her hand. He made attempts to strike himself, but the girl dodged. The girl's hands and feet were now poisonous. Any touch brought Douglas non-healing wounds. He missed the girl's blow to his chest. His breath caught. Douglas backed away. The girl said, "Your wounds haven't healed yet, right?" The fighter shouted, "It's none of your business!" He wanted to strike back. The next instant, Douglas collapsed on his back. Leaning on his arm, he tried to stand up. Standing, the fighter felt sick. The poisonous wounds were making themselves felt. He could feel the poisoning going through his body. Not good, he thought. His eyesight began to fail. The girl's silhouette was already blurry. She asked him, "Well, is your vision starting to blur?" The fighter looked at her steadily. Then the girl said, "You think you can block me with just your metal bones?" Douglas replied in a weak voice, "I have to try, don't I?" The fighter decided to use his superpower. He put his palms together and shouted, "Eat this!" The impact of his hands sent a shockwave toward the girl. Douglas was thinking of knocking the girl down with that crowning blow. The girl shouted sharply against me and ran towards Douglas. The exhausted fighter was ready to meet her. She was ready to use the crowning blow against him. She only shouted "Scorpion Sting." The girl stabbed him with all her might in the chest with her fingers. The blow came right in front of his heart. The guy was seriously stunned. Next, the girl kicked him on the head. He only shouted, "This!" Douglas was lying on the ground. The girl shouted, "The end!" The fighter was barely showing any signs of life anymore. The girl turned her back on him and said, "What kind of idiot is this?" She was about to run away, but then she heard a noise behind her. The guy got to his feet and said, "Wait a minute." The fighter did his best effort and got to his feet. The girl turned around. She was amazed and only exclaimed, Douglas was able to get up and stand on his feet. She was surprised he's still alive after being poisoned by my venom. The boy abruptly withdrew his hand from his chest and threw the pieces of bones that had been poisoned by the venom onto the roof. In a strong voice, he told the girl, the poison was not deep enough. She was amazed at that. Douglas kicked her with all his might. She shouted, "Can't you just turn your back on all this and wait to die?" The boy answered her, "You know the reason you were sent there, don't you?" With difficulty gathering his strength, the fighter spoke, "I know he wants to frame and accuse me of killing Su Chen, but so what?" Douglas continued. He made an attempt to attack the girl. She bounced. Here she answered him. "In any case, whatever you're doing now is pointless." The fighter here asked, "Meaningless? Will I remain human if I repay the faith of a man like him? Although he is an idiot, but he respects me and treats me like a true friend. He trusts me to the end, and we are sparring buddies." The girl was silent in response. She did a somersault and kicked Douglas in the legs. After this blow, the boy could no longer recover. The girl jumped up at him and asked, "Is that so?" The guy was lying breathless. The girl grabbed his arms around his neck and said, "Then let me gently send you away." Here she kissed him. That kiss of death was the last thing Douglas felt vividly in life. He was dying. After a while, Su Chen and his friend went up to the roof. They saw the breathless body of the guard there. There was a flashlight lying nearby. The guy said, "Brother Chen, I've already called the police." A friend asked Chen, "How did you know something had happened here?" The man replied, "Intuition." To himself, he thought to Jay, "Is there really someone fighting on the roof?" He heard the answer. "Definitely. Although I was greatly weakened by the previous battle, but the energy produced by this battle is very strong. I can still feel it." When they went to the roof, they saw a body lying there. Su Chen only shouted, "Douglas!" The dying Douglas said in a weak voice, "Yao, brother, you are here to finish me." Su Chen asked, "What is it?" The fighter answered him, "Nothing. Just had a fight with my insides." The protagonist was surprised. Were you really trying to protect me?" Douglas smiled a little and said, "Ha ha, if you think so, so be it." He took out a bill of money and an access card from his pocket. Douglas said, "A little parting gift. I just won it tonight. Use it however you like. Goodbye." Douglas's last words were still resounding. The protagonist stood silently with his friend beside the body of his dead rival. Chu Chen was still holding Douglas's hand in his hands. Just then, the moon rose and illuminated them with a bright light. The killer girl was sitting in the office after finishing her mission. Paolo was talking on the phone next to her. He was talking to someone on the phone. "Mori, can your subordinates do their jobs normally?" The girl sat silently and thought, "Don't black killers care about your reputation?" Paolo kept talking emotionally on the phone. First Douglas put up the white flag at the competition. And now BG has abandoned his mission too. There was a knock and one of Paolo's subordinates entered the room. He addressed him, "Sir." Paolo rudely replied, "What?" A subordinate told AM, "We found Douglas's body without causing any commotion." The subordinate replied, "Understood. Get out." The subordinate leaving said, "Okay." Opening the door, he thought it was scary. Paolo was talking to the big boss. He reassured him, "Don't be so angry. I don't know what happened to Douglas, but that's what BG does depending on her mood." The boss drank the wine and said most likely something had upset her. After waiting a bit, he said again, "Also, if we don't talk about age, you're both in the same position." Paolo asked, "What?" The boss suddenly got angry and hit the floor with his cane with all his might. He shouted, "Stop yelling at me!" Thereafter the telephone service was interrupted. Paolo cracked his cell phone with anger. The killer girl, whose name was BG, said, "Help me get my room ready. I'll stay for this time." The girl left the room. Paolo hit the table with all his might. The table collapsed from his blow. Paolo stood thinking about the phone call. As he calmed down, he sank into his thoughts. Then the phrase, "Be as arrogant as you like," came out of his mouth. Rejoicing in something of his own, Paolo said, "When the time comes, I'll see if you can continue to be like this." At the same time, a girl arrived at the private island of Haicheng-su's estate. Her name was Z. She arrived by automobile. Once past the guards, she entered the grounds of the estate. Next, she walked to the building where her grandfather was. Her grandfather asked her, "Z, is it school vacation now?" An old man was sitting in a wheelchair watching the fish in the pond. A girl shyly addressed him Grandpa. She sat down beside him. "Your leg has gotten better lately." Grandfather said, "I have said it so many times, this leg cannot be healed." Z carried his grandfather in a wheelchair and talked to him. "That's not true. Medical technology is so advanced now, and there must be a way to cure your leg." Her grandfather told her, "Enough is enough. Let's not talk about it anymore." "How has school been going lately?" The girl replied, "It's fine. I rejected the marriage proposal from the Tang family." Then the old man said sadly, "You wench is always giving trouble to your father." She went on to say, "Ah yes, Grandpa. I even accompanied my classmate to watch the bouts in the Tianwu battle hall." Grandpa replied, "Pff, what's so enjoyable about watching a fight?" The old man continued to speak. "These open competitions are just entertainment for spectators with the intention of making money. They are just external fighting skills. They are of no use to you." Then Grandpa suggested, "If you really want to watch, Grandpa can open the back door for you. That's where you can really see something different." Granddaughter said, "But Grandpa, someone used Qigong in the match I was watching." 30. The old man suddenly wondered, "What? Has the Tianwu Martial Hall changed its rules? Who is this person?" The girl said to Suchen. The old man suddenly said thoughtfully, "Never heard of him." The girl went on to say, "Don't you think so? They probably give unexpected rewards for periodic visits there." The old man replied, "I said I won't go, and that's true, but it's worth checking the identity of that child." The protagonist continued his rehabilitation in the hospital. When he sneezed, he remembered the omen and suddenly thought it was strange that someone was scolding me. Dr. Shen was on the phone with someone. She answered, "Okay, I understand." Shen told the protagonist the news. Suchen, the death camp, found Douglas's body. The guy was surprised. "Ah," she explained. "After all, Douglas is a member of the death camp. We better not get involved." The boy replied, "I see." When Shen left, the protagonist wondered, why did this happen? He could have left, but to protect me. Suchen suddenly heard a voice in his head. "Hey, do you want to avenge him?" The boy thought for a moment. Here, the protagonist noticed that he was communicating with a celestial projection of his patron fighter. The entity kept saying, "Don't be silly. He wanted to kill you. It wouldn't be hard for you to kill someone like him. And yet, you are sad for him." The guy said judiciously, "A man died, and it's because of me. How can I not grieve for him?" The celestial warrior continued to say, "If he wasn't willing to die, he wouldn't be a murderer. Your sorrow is unnecessary. Besides, there will always be someone who will try to kill you, and that person will surely die. At least the way he died for us there is something about his death as well." Suchen said annoyed, "You're humiliating him." Heavenly Essence replied, "I am stating facts." The boy was saddened. Here the patron warrior touched the protagonist with his hand and said, "You thought well about it. If you were strong enough, you wouldn't have met him in the arena. No one would have tried to kill you and he wouldn't have died." The protagonist said firmly, "You're right. There's only one thing I have to do now." Suchen thought decisively, "Become stronger." The guy was already back in reality. He was still in the hospital. Then he suddenly thought, that's right. The protagonist continued to ponder. If I become stronger, I won't be afraid of someone trying to kill me and will be able to protect Lin better. Just then, Su Chen's friend ran into the room. He shouted anxiously, Brother Chen is not good. He continued to say Lin's sister was hospitalized. The main character was shocked. What? The protagonist and his friend arrived at the hospital. Lin was there. Suan's friend said, I'm sorry, Brother Chen. I didn't take good care of sis Lin. The protagonist replied, No, it's my fault for not being able to be with her at the right time. A doctor looked out of the room. They turned to him. Doctor, Su Sen asked impatiently. Doctor! My little sister, the doctor replied. Her condition has stabilized, but we can't find the cause of her illness. Sis was lying unconscious. The medic added, At this rate, she wouldn't last a week. The main character's friend asked, Can we see her? The doctor said, Yes, but the patient isn't awake yet. Don't disturb her for too long. The protagonist and his comrade entered the room in silence. Su Sen himself was still in poor health. Moving around on crutches, he looked at his sister in complete silence. The silence was broken only by the sounds of the medical equipment. The protagonist's friend came out and said, Brother Chen, I will wait for you outside. Su Chen replied inaudibly, He was still looking at his sister. Then Su Chen saw as if the spirit of a little angel had risen from his sister. The protagonist said in surprise to Xiaoxue, You're fine. The angelic girl replied, Yes, but sis. Su Chen woke up to the angel girl. She looked sad and said, Don't be sad. Lin will get better. Then the angel cried out, Braddock, kill me. Su Chen was shocked. What? Angel girl began to explain sis must have gotten sick because of me. I sucked out all her yang qi, which made her sick. If I wasn't here, she wouldn't be lying here. The boy listened silently. The angel went on to say, Therefore, brother, get rid of me. The protagonist decided to leave. He turned around and walked slowly away. In his wake, he said, You're my family, so I'll save you. But the little angel was still floating in the air. The guy said, I'll think of something. Su Chen walked out of the hospital to the hospital courtyard. The protagonist called and said, Dr. Shen, can the man you mentioned last time cure my sister? She answered him, He hasn't returned to the country yet. The guy replied sadly, I get it. Su Chen turned off the phone. His friend said, Brother Chen, Lin's sis will be fine. The protagonist replied simply, Leave me alone for a while. A friend said, Brother Chen, don't carry the whole burden on your back. The sad guy replied, I know. He thought to himself that he would have to choose between his sister and Xiaoyu Shui. As the guy was walking, he suddenly heard a voice in his head. Have you forgotten about my existence? Su Chen thought to Gay. The voice said, I can save your sister. You know that. Su Chen interrogated, Can you save her? The voice replied, Of course I can also not cause Xiaoxue pain. The boy asked, How? The voice replied, Let's go back home first and we will have to buy something on the way. The protagonist was sitting at home in the evening. The clock struck 7. On the table in front of him was a notebook, brushes, and red dry paint. There was also a cat sitting on the table. He was white and fluffy. Su Chen didn't know what to do next. He asked, Is this cat sure to help me? The voice replied, Trust me. Then a bright glow appeared around the cat's head, and some magic signs flashed in the air above the cat's head. The protagonist was surprised. He tried to reach out to the animal. He did it slowly and carefully. The cat itself sat still, as if nothing had happened. Then over the animal's head, the glow intensified and a pentagram lit up. The cat stopped talking and closed his eyes. Around the pentagram, magical hieroglyphics glowed. Su Chen silently looked at what was happening. He did not understand anything. The animal had already opened its eyes and was looking at the guy. The protagonist asked, What kind of cat is that? The voice replied, No idea, but his spells will be able to help you. Just know this. The protagonist asked, Should I take it? The voice replied, Now you can't do it with your power. Su Chen asked, Just don't tell me that you want me to copy the drawings. The voice replied, If it was so easy, and wouldn't everyone become a master? The guy clarified, Then what do you mean? The voice explained, The most important thing about these spells is the aura on them. The paper is not so important. But normal people can't feel the aura. Not to mention that the aura is drawn into the spell. Su Chen said, But you will help me do it. The voice replied, It also depends on your talent. Here the voice reminded the guy, In the last fight, you were able to use ki after all. That proves that you have talent. Then the voice convinced the protagonist with my cooperation. This certainty works. Su Chen said, then let us get started. The guy got to work. He started to write hieroglyphics on the papers with red powder. He did everything diligently. Suddenly the paper caught fire. The boy was frightened. Ah, why did it catch fire? Then a voice said, idiot. You drew it too hastily. You released all the fiery ki. Su Chen continued to draw, but the paper sheets ended up catching fire. The voice kept telling him, idiot, idiot, idiot. Here the protagonist felt tired and exhausted from the fruitless work. He said to himself, I didn't expect that drawing the spell would be so dangerous. Then he looked at the cat and thought, is it because I'm in a hurry? The guy was thinking. He stopped. He thought to himself, I have to calm down. I have to save my sister. He made further attempts to draw. Once again, the piece of paper burned. The protagonist was upset. Ah, screwed up again. The voice echoed back to him, idiot. It was slowly getting towards night. The clock was already showing 10:12 p.m. This is where the guy's efforts finally succeeded. The hieroglyphic paper didn't burn. The fusion began to emanate from it. The protagonist collapsed on the couch exhausted. He thought at last he had drawn. The voice told him it's still no good. Why? Su Chen was angry. The voice kept saying too little Tsu has been absorbed into the spell. This spell is not fully completed. At best we can heal their wound, but we can't save your sister. The boy shouted, damn it. He pounded his fist on the spell paper. To himself he thought, don't tell me. Su Chen really pictured his sister and the angel beside him. Did he think that I really have to get rid of Xiaojie? His hand reached determinedly for the tassel. The protagonist decided to keep going. He gave himself the attitude, no, I mustn't give up.